2 people are watching. I'm me
Yes,
and one
all
of
right, we're live. Okay, sorry about the abrupt start, everybody. StreamYard was kept. We were trying to start this like an old car, and finally it kicked into gear. Here we go. Here's a podcast. Hey everybody, what's going on? Rob Cesternino back to talk with you about Survivor Battle of the Eras, a fictitious season based off of the upcoming Challenge Season 40, which is dropping soon, and we've got a jam-packed show for you here as the Summer of Survivor rolls on. First, let's bring in the Survivor panel duo, of course, the man who's been taking you through all of the Survivor seasons, day by day. Give it up for Mike Bloom.
Yes, I've been doing my own daily challenges, and they're in the form of the Survivor 50 wish list, so my body is ready.
Okay, all right. And, of course, back with us, our chief international Survivor correspondent, Shannon Guss. Shannon, how are you?
I'm great. I'm already crying of laughter. It could not be more Summer of Survivor coded to have as a chaotic start, but we are here, we are live. They would not keep us from our chat, not keep us from this live date. Big Brother wants to go earlier. We'll still be at a time.
Yeah, Big Brother,
things, so...
that my prayers were answered as Big Brother moves from making big moves and moving from 9 p.m. Eastern to 8 p.m. Eastern.
I'm just trying to get us used to that Wednesday at 8 slot for when Survivor occupies it in less than 2 months.
It really meant the world to me. I felt like I won the lotto earlier this week. So happy to hear that. But that's not what we are here to talk about tonight. The challenge, which we've seen a few Survivor players play on the Challenge USA and the Challenge proper, but the Challenge has a big anniversary season of their own to commemorate season number 40. It's not Winners at War, it's Battle of the Eras. And of course, to talk about it here with us, the co-hosts of the now decade-old Challenge RHAP, it's Brian Cohen and Ali Lasher. Welcome to the Summer of Survivor.
Woo, woo, woo. Here we are. Excited?
Yes. Okay.
Big night.
Big night. Talking about Survivor, talking about the challenge here together. And Ali, we are very excited to cast the fictitious Battle of the Eras Survivor cast.
Well, I don't know how any of you can be trusted to do that when you have deeply miscast me on this podcast. I couldn't have more anxiety about this solely because the challenge listeners are experiencing this in the previews. Brian knows this. You guys probably know this. I get so much anxiety before I do something like this that I have to do a ton of research because it's not in my bones like it is your guys's. And do you know what exposure therapy it is to give me an assignment that's like, we may talk about up to 700 people.
Maybe.
Just get up the list of all Survivor players. We've done that a lot this summer.
Oh, I've got materials, but I am scared to be here.
And we almost had to do this without the chat. We were having problems getting our live stream started, but we are back here. And of course, the chat is the unofficial, I'll say sixth co-host tonight. Look how excited the chat is. This is what the summer is actually for, says Nolan. Lucas says, this is such a fun concept. Love the challenge and Survivor so much. And Melissa is excited. OMG, Brian Scally, a legend.
Yay!
This is what I can say whatever I want. It's all blame it on Scally. This is
That's gonna
my
be
time
the
to shine.
Brian Cohen playing the deepfake HOH advantage, where he gets to take the identity
Did you
of
hear
Brian
what
Scally.
Brian Scally said?
Yeah, one day one of you is getting canceled for what the other says, and then the Curb Your Enthusiasm music is just going to play, and it'll be decades of a culmination in that.
It would definitely be me. It would definitely be me, and Scally will get canceled. That'll be great.
Yeah,
it'll be fun.
Great. Yeah,
I think that's happened before too.
What I don't like about that is I look bad either way. So I'm tied to both of them against my will.
I think it's because you're Ali. Brian Ali, people hear Brian Scally.
So
it's very confusing.
Well, you need to find another Ali to bring into the RHAP network, so then you can become synonymous with them, and then you shunt the blame off onto that Ali.
Yeah, and then you'll be like alternate universe duos. And then you could have some sort of fight to the death to see who would be the supreme duo.
Okay.
I like our chances. Ali. We'll take them.
All right. Well, we've got a lot to do here tonight,
Every week,
and
Rob.
we are up against Big Brother is going to have a big episode here tonight, and so we are looking forward to that. So we have a couple of things that we need to do. One, let's just establish what Brian and Ali are up to commemorate the Challenge Season 40 Battle of the Eras, and you two have some preview coverage that you're doing with a member of the panel.
Yes, so we are doing more preview coverage than we've ever had before, not to the level that Mike Bloom usually does for other seasons, but we are discussing each era. First era and the second era are both out already. Third and fourth are coming next week. And then the challenge does something very fun. They do like an episode 0 preview special, and we will have the great Mike Bloom on to discuss all that and get even
Mike
more
looks
hyped
so
for
happy.
season 40.
I love the challenge.
Yes.
I'm very excited because I've only recently become a member of the challenge media as well. I started doing Exit Press for USA and for All Stars 4, and it's due in part due to the great work that Brian and Ali are doing. I'm freaking stoked on the Challenge 40. It is an audacious concept. It is a 40-person cast. And I love dividing it through the eras as well, because there's just been, there's debate in every reality TV fandom as to what are the eras, what era is the best. And I love this idea of commemorating the history of a show by bringing people from basically every season on it.
Yeah. Ali, can you explain a little bit more about what the challenge is doing for the uninitiated for season 40, the Battle of the Eras?
I can't, because I know very little about this besides what Mike Bloom has written in his article in terms of the formatting. What I do know from what we're talking about in our preview coverage is we have been introduced to 4 squads of 10 people from seasons 1 through 10, era 1, seasons 11 through 20, 21 through 30 and 31 to present, which is 39.
Makes
And,
sense.
There's going to be twists. There might be some tryout kind of situation to really make your era squad, but we're going to find out a lot more, I think, in episode 0.
Yeah, there's apparently an initial combine, I think, of you got to make the team in the first place. They're bringing on 40 people.
I was going to say, how else do you go from 40 to a livable season?
Yeah, this is the joke idea that I feel like so many people have had for Survivor of just bring 100 people to the beach and then Squid Game it down to 20.
Well, hopefully no one will die. But yeah, what is the challenge if not the joke version of Survivor? But no, I'm excited. I hope maybe it inspires some other shows. Maybe it'll inspire 50. I'm sure that's well in the works.
You know that I was on a reality season that did that, right? That joke idea that I actually experienced that. 100 people entered. 3 days later, 80 were cut in 3 days.
Wow.
It was awful.
But isn't that
You
more
survived.
the audition phase, right?
It was on TV.
I think it's a good point. Or American Idol would do that, right? Where you'd see the audition phases, and that was ridiculous. What's going to be hard, I think, and maybe would be hard for Survivor is and we talked about this in our most recent preview, but are they really going to cut half of each era? Episode 1, episode 2, we want to see these people. We're getting excited about the 40 people we know and want to see. And if we get one episode with all 40 and we go to 20, I will be complaining on Mike. That is just spoiler alert for our first podcast.
What did I do?
It's Mike, yeah.
Okay. Well, let me just ask a question. Okay. So from what I understand with the challenge Battle of the Eras, because there are these 4 squads and they are divided into these 4 teams. Now, do the actual eras of the challenge line up with the every 10 seasons? Does it actually make sense to call it eras, or are they just okay, this is the arbitrary cutoff of after season 10? Actually, if you did the history of the challenge eras, it would be cut differently.
It's obviously a little arbitrary. It wouldn't be so perfect that immediately starting with season 11, there'd be a shift in the game. But as we've kind of gone through the cast, each of them do kind of represent their own era in a good way. I think you can maybe divide up the numbers in a different way, 1 through 8, and 9 through 22 or something like that. But in terms of the grouping of people, there does seem to be a seamless shift of what they kind of represent, the type of people that were cast for the show, what they kind of do on the show. So yeah, the numbers may be a little fugazi, but the people themselves kind of do represent the eras.
Okay, so do we need to, and I know in like our Slack, we were talking a little bit about what the names of the eras were. Mike, do you feel like it is important that we name the eras?
I think we do it as Brian and Ali have been doing as we go along. Like, I think if we do a seasons 1 through 10 tribe, then we can talk about what the name is. I think if we get bogged down right here at the starting gate of naming the eras, we are never going to get anywhere.
And nothing would be more Summer of Survivor than to get bogged down at the starting gate. Shannon, are you okay with that if the eras are unnamed?
Well, it's not just about naming the eras. We also have to think about defining the eras. Because are we just doing 110, 110? Because I already have objections.
110, 110? I mean, yeah. I think we're 11 to 20. Yeah.
Yep.
What would be, what's your objections with that?
Like, I already think like you would cap the older school era, whatever we're going to name that, at All-Stars. That's the end of that era.
So then will you do 9 through 20?
I think so, but everything would be different.
Well, could we hear your pitch? So you want to have
we're getting a little bogged down, but I'm happy to do it. I love getting bogged down.
Let's get bogged. I love getting bogged.
Ribbit, bogged down.
You know what? Let's not only get bogged down. Let's create some merch that says Summer of Survivor, and then the caption "Let's get bogged," because I think that would be some good merch. Because that's really
feels like I feel like I need to go to Urban Dictionary to make sure that isn't something.
Yeah, make sure.
Bog wild. I think that's better.
Yeah, okay. I feel like getting bogged is close to getting pegged. That I feel.
Wait, what's better than bogged? No one would think that.
Okay, good night, everybody.
You know, they tried to make it so we weren't live, and they were saving us from ourselves.
Okay,
and yet here we are.
Shannon, give us the pitch for 5. It's 5 tribes.
I think we should do 5 tribes.
Okay, 5. Okay, give us the pitch for 5 tribes that is sliced differently.
So off the top of my head, I think you'd go 1 to All Stars, 1 to 8.
Mm-hmm.
Then I think you would do 9 through 20. That's a big era. That's going to be a competitive era. The issue is, then I think you do like 21 to 26 as the Dark Ages. But can we have that? Can that be like a reduced team? And then I think you do.
No, I think then you just eliminate them at the combine. I don't want to see that many Dark Ages people.
Yeah. Okay. Give me. Okay. What's team 4?
Well, I have 6 teams.
But it's this is like we can't like what I think, Shannon, what you are coming up with, I think is actually a different, interesting conversation. I think we should put that on the wheel of ideas of these. What do we call the ideas here? Okay, too many podcasts. But we should like define what the eras of Survivor are.
This is what this is.
This is like casting a tribe of 1 to 10, 11 to 20, 21 to 30.
Melissa in the chat, who by the way a while ago did confirm she was joking about the Brian Scally thing. Justice for Melissa in the chat.
I got it.
We got the joke. Yeah.
Okay. She was, because some people anyway. 1 to 8, 9 to 20. Then she says 21 to 32. I had separated those eras. But if you want to do that, and then Mike shaking his head, but 33 to 40 and 40 plus, I think that's fine. We can put the Dark Ages in.
I just say do 21 to 30. Because a second chance is 31, and that feels like a little bit of a refresh, and then you go in from wrong through 40.
Yeah.
But 33 was the start of like a lot of modernism, the big moves era, or you ended at 31, because I do kind of like ending at all-star seasons every time.
I hear what you're saying, and for Brian and Ali, no doubt the actual eras, if you, as challenge historians, if you were going to define the eras of the challenge, you would not classify them and make the cutoffs at 1 to 10, 11 to 20, 21 to 30, and 31 to 40, correct?
So let the challenge be a lesson to us here, instruct us here, in that you might not be perfect, as Brian was saying, in terms of where the cutoffs would actually be. But when we make the tribe, we'll probably get the right vibe, whether it's cutting off at 30 or cutting off at 32. It might inform how we actually cast the era. If somebody really would fit more in another era, maybe they're not making the tribe here because the numbers have,
and maybe they played more than once. Are we open to?
That's the thing, is that because the casting was done by the season you debuted.
Okay,
in. It's not if like Kelly Wentworth is going to be in consideration for 29, not for 31. It's not by your most popular season. It's the one that you first appeared on.
Okay.
So I cannot punt David Wright, is what I'm
Yeah.
learning here, like I did.
I
So-
feel
You did it
that
well. You
we
played with fire once, Lasher.
Yeah.
we compromise and we end the eras at 8, 20, 31, and 40. It's so clean.
The one exception, the one thing I might push back on. I know ending on heroes villains makes sense, but I feel like 19 should almost be in like it should be like ending it at 18 and then starting with Samoa should be like the next era. Because
I was saying that there should be an era called the Russell era, which is like 19
Who
to
would be on the
20.
Russell tribe? Just 6 Russells?
No,
get
I feel like if we again, and that's why I think this is an interesting discussion for a different podcast. I think that there is an era of Survivor where they fell in love with Russell Hantz, and it was a high, and then they were sort of like stuck with Russell and Russell's relatives for a while, and they were in the Russell hangover era. I think that is, I think from like 29 or from 19 to through 24. I think that is sort of like the Russell. Chasing Russell era, but
it impacted all of CBS as well. Not just,
I think it's going to take us an hour to define the eras, and Ali and Brian are here tonight, and so I think that what we should do is work on filling in the tribes in groups of 10. And I think that we can have another conversation down the road about what are the eras of Survivor.
May I also add that some of us are rigid and saw the graphic and thought it'd be 1 to 10 and in our prep, and that's didn't
Ali,
think this would be
can I
part of the
say,
discussion.
The graphic was because we couldn't decide it in Slack and said we'll do it on the podcast. So we can't have that. That becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
I was not looped into
Okay.
that chat, though I wouldn't have checked it because I don't know how to use
Damn.
Slack.
Yeah. Okay.
At least
Like,
you were
Mom?
prepping for like casting for a Survivor season. I stressed the last 2 weeks asking Ali, are we casting for a Survivor season or are we casting for a season of the challenge with Survivor players? So at least some people knew what the kind of
Doesn't
concept
matter.
of the show was.
Mike, can you lend your opinion to all this?
I am fine. Like, honestly, what Shannon is proposing is not terribly different. Like, it does. Are we gonna pull people?
Thank
It
you.
does. Like, ending with an all-star season, it doesn't matter. Like, whether we end at 30 or 31, it's not.
Let me hear your pitch one more time. I think it's got to be 5 teams.
I think it's 1 through 8,
Yeah.
9 through 20,
Yeah.
21 through 31, 32 through 40, new era.
Well, should it be 21 through?
If
If it's
19 should be in that next era because I just don't
That
think
throws off everything, Brian.
we're not ending on round numbers anyway. I just don't think Samoa
We're
and
ending
Russell
on
should be
big
in that.
Landmark returning seasons.
Robert, my brother's Robert.
Yeah.
Robert, I'm Bryce now. Does it move the needle back to just the clean 1 through 10 if your chances quadruple of having to be cast if we cut 2 more seasons out of your quadrant?
That's
Or
true.
your-
Rob's getting
I
cast.
mean, you're
Yeah.
going to either way, but I'm just.
Yes.
We're gonna
I'm
Rob.
trying
Yeah.
to-
I just think what are we
Like,
quibbling over that the
Rob's
first era ends at is basically seasons. It's not even 8 because when you played in your first season, it's 1 through 7.
Yeah, I mean, literally the only differences are like the first 3, the 1 and 3 are like slightly different. That's it.
Mhm.
Yes, and correct.
Yeah, I think you could almost make the case Era 1 should go even a little bit further beyond 8 then. Because I would almost like break it out by like the style of the gameplay. And I feel like 9, 10, 11 all kind of still fit there. So maybe Era 1 should end even later than
Okay,
8.
let's
Brian, you
vote.
hate
Let's
me.
vote. Okay, it's time. It's time to vote. Okay,
Oh.
majority rules here. Okay, the options are decades or bespoke tier. Okay,
Sam's reminding us that Big Brother is at 9. We know.
we got
It's
it. We
not
got
mine.
it. We got it. Okay. All right, Ali, what's your vote?
I'm voting for 1 to 10, 11
Decades.
to 20
Okay.
vibes. We will cast the tribes with the right vibes.
Okay, Brian.
I like the chaos of like I wrote like 1 to 11, 12 to
That's
18.
not
That's
on
not
the
an
ballot,
option. You
Brian.
can't
Okay.
write- you can't do a write-in vote.
All right. He likes customs. Okay, Shannon,
Custom.
you got
Go
customs.
ahead, throw your
Okay.
vote away.
I want the decades. Mike, you're the tie-breaking vote.
Mike,
Oh.
I've given you a lot in my life, and I will end our friendship.
Well, guilting is the best way to get to my heart. I'm gonna go with Shannon's pick here.
Well, you should have
Okay.
just known that I'm going to talk shit behind your back now. So that should
Okay,
be more.
all right.
I went either
We're
way.
doing that already?
Then quickly, I need to know
already do
what
that
the
already.
5
Wow.
groupings are.
So 1 through 8,
And Mike will just, okay, he's Solomon here. He has heard all of the things.
I do
okay,
split a lot of babies.
What do you mean
1 through
he's
8
stolen?
is the first one.
it's really 1 through 7. Okay,
I would say
I love that we only lost.
great.
We only won because Brian threw away his vote. It's already
Plurality
Yes.
vote. There we
Okay.
go. Next is going to be
That's still
9
fun.
through 20.
9 through 20.
I don't like
And it-
I don't like these ranges. These ranges are not great.
20.
So
you
Brian,
lost.
switch your
Get over
vote.
it. Get over
Brian,
it.
Drop your
Done.
stack.
No,
It is
Brian,
a-
drop your stack.
Brian, it is a difference of 2 seasons.
But
Yeah.
I think the
and
people
again,
we're
it's
ending
really
on are
9 through
very
19
key.
if nobody is coming from 20 because it's when you played in your first season.
So then it's going to be 21 through 30,
Okay.
then 31 through 40, and
No.
then, or sorry, it's
It's-
21 through 31,
Mike, please.
32. Karong is technically season 31, and then new era.
And again, you can't pick anybody from 31 because it's all returning players.
Rob, let me just.
Why
explain
can't
what
we
Summer
just say
Survivor is.
31 to
Rob,
40 for the
exercise
sake
your
of
authority.
simplicity?
It's
Rob.
Rob has a podcast, not Jamokes have a podcast. Exercise your
Rob.
authority.
Oh, it's always been Jamokes
Ali,
have
that's
a
not how it works in
podcast.
Summer of Survivor. What we
You've
do in
come
Summer
for
of
me
Survivor-
personally, Shannon. I'm
Yeah.
speaking up.
Did I?
Rob, assert your
Rob.
authority.
Okay,
Brian,
all right,
change
all
your
right,
vote. This is
all right,
ridiculous.
all right, Shannon, last thing on this, okay?
We're trying through the Summer of Survivor to solve Survivor discourse so that once the summer is done, we can say, what was the defining moments of the season? What are the eras of Survivor?
realize we were
What
going
are
for
these
world
things?
peace
And
on this
we
podcast.
All right,
answered all of
Shannon,
it.
you're happy if it's called 32 to 40, even though nobody from 31 can qualify for this list because it's only when you played in your first season?
Yes, of course.
Okay, fine.
This
It's
is the way you
32 to
define
40
things.
now. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. 1 to 8, 9 to 20, 21 to 31, 32 to 40, 41 to 50. Okay. All right. We have to decide on these teams. I also think that there should be one person that is the ultimate final say for each of the decades. I think that we should each be a
Ooh.
captain of
Ooh.
one
that's
of
exciting.
the decades.
Ooh,
Okay.
Well, it should be old era,
Okay.
right?
All right.
Different-
Well, okay. Ali, I'm going to give you the first pick of which of the decades or which of the 5 eras that we've come up with do you want to be the captain? You are the ultimate. If there's any sort of a tie, you have the final call.
I honestly think I care the least for the
You
first
care a
time in
lot.
my life. But I will pick. I honestly am still trying to figure out where we landed on these. I'll pick the
Shane,
first.
you
I'll
said
pick the first
correct.
one. I'll do
Okay.
Team OG.
Chris.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Ali has the final say on the OGs. Brian,
I'll take the second era because that's my favorite.
okay.
Oh, yeah.
Shannon of the remaining 3, 21 to 31, 32 to 40, and 41 to 50.
I'll take the third era.
Okay. Mike.
You know what? Give me the new era. I feel like I should get the new era here. It's the only one I haven't talked about.
Okay. Okay. And I will have the 32 to 40 era. Okay. All right. So,
Should we name them?
no.
Not
we don't
yet.
Have no, we don't have that kind of time. All right. That could be at the end when we see who's on the tribe. Okay. So, how are we going to do this? We're just going to start with the old era, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, are we just throwing names out there and then making cuts?
I think we could definitely throw some names out there that were like, I imagine, especially with the old era, I think there are going to be names that we're going to be in agreement with, and there could be ones that we could argue with. How many people do we want on the team is the question. 6,
10.
8, 10? We want to go full 50?
I think so. It's 50 for
Sure.
50, right?
50, then let's do 10 then.
I think it's imperative we get up the list of all Survivor players. Essential Wikipedia list. Can I
Okay,
just
will.
quickly, not to
Is
get
there some
bogged down,
debate
just-
about who is a Survivor player that we need like an official list on?
No, just because sometimes you forget and then the Wikipedia list reminds
Oh,
you. But
okay.
just to check in with the chat, Chappelle is here, or at least was here, being a menace, giving his opinions that I disagree with. And also,
Agreeing
who's coming-
with me is not being a menace. That's just agreeing with me.
I mean, Brian, he knows what's going to get me, and it was. And then Kieran in the chat, whose anniversary was last week, he's the person I picked to come on. So Kieran, get in touch with
If
Sam,
we have time,
which we will. Okay, Kieran's going to come on. Oh
All
yeah,
right.
Chappelle's
I would like to put out a first suggestion, and here's the thing: is that and Brian Alley can speak to this further. Like, especially with this cast, there are very few misses in Battle of the Eras, and that comes with also bringing on pretty historical figures. It's a no-brainer. You bring Richard Hatch on for
Okay.
Era 1 here.
All right. And this is like I guess are the people in because in the challenge exercise, you need people that are actually like not totally aged out of the thing. And
I think this is 100% fantastical.
Okay, this is like some sort of simulation that we're like, so we're seeing these people like in their prime as they were.
No, we're seeing them the age they are, but we're just okay with it.
Okay, we're just okay with it. Okay.
Even if they're dead.
Well, that was also going to kind of be my follow-up to the dead thing. Like,
Yeah.
is it like, the ballot?
It's
obviously
not
people
Ghost
have to be willing
Island.
to play, but like
For-
someone like Rudy, obviously, like I
Giving
feel like
you
he would
meaning to
represent
Ghost
that
Island.
era. But
Right.
would he be a part of this brand steal?
I don't even know what MTV means. So probably he would not like it. But let me just ask, so did the challenge, like, were there people that, like, if you were going to be making this fictitious list, that they would have been on the list, but for one reason or another, they were declined to be asked?
Yes, very much so. Usually, well, either declined to be asked, or I guess they could have said no. But there's some let's say more problematic people from the challenge.
Not
space
unlike
that-
Survivor. Not
That's
unlike
true.
Survivor.
Actually, you know what? Like both. That would be banned from returning. That if you were doing if every single person was a lovely human, they would have been
Mhm.
on. But since they are not, they are not.
So maybe,
Okay.
I mean, listen, if we're going for realism, I might retract my Richard nomination then.
No, I think that let's look. Let's, for the purposes of history, okay. I think Richard. If we ultimately cut Richard, that's fine. But Richard should be on the list.
Yeah, I mean, I think the oldest era is going to be interesting because there are so many defining players, obviously, by very definition. So there's a few names like you have to have, like, I mean, definitely Richard Hatch. You'd have like Colby, Jerry.
Mhm.
Rupert.
I mean, here's the question. Do we just look to the
Oh,
cast
wow.
of Survivor All-Stars and
Well-
eliminate 8
Yeah.
people?
But is
Yeah.
this even beyond like fiction? Where can we get Colleen?
Ooh, that's a good point. I think Colleen
Yep.
could be really interesting. I think Colleen would be a
Yeah.
great like wild card to show up.
But then who's the woman from the list that you're gonna eliminate then, right? Because I made a rough list of like 10, and I think it's probably on the margins
Okay, all right.
similar.
Okay.
But like, so who are you cutting for
Wait, give us the
Colleen
list,
from
Ali.
the hits? No, I reserved my list, but I'm just saying, like, if you're adding a wild card, which I love, and I don't think, in fairness, the challenge like did enough of like really digging from people, like they are playing the hits, which is great.
Yeah.
Like Mike said, there are no misses. But if we're bringing Colleen, I think we're cutting somebody potentially that is
Yeah.
like a shoo-in. So who's
Yeah.
like the person we're subbing out for her?
I
I
guess
don't
we-
think we should dig woman.
Well, I guess we need like who are the 10 shoo-ins or I guess the 5 women shoo-ins.
Yeah, give us the list, Alan. I'm happy to go with the hits. I think that's the point of this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the
Yeah, I
most
mean, we
obvious.
all might disagree, right? But I think Sandra is one of the
Yeah, so
hits.
Sandra's that
Yeah.
I
person,
think
yeah.
Must
Sue
have.
is in the conversation. I
Yep.
think Jerry's in the conversation.
Jerry, yeah.
Yeah.
I think Vesepia's in the conversation.
Oh, interesting.
Oh, you know what? There's room because this is a list from seasons 1 to 10, and instead of 1 to 8. So perhaps
Okay.
one of my people. So maybe Vesepia isn't on the list for some people, but that was like where my head was at when
I think
whittled down my
Vesepia
list.
gets a lot of help from it being only now 1 through 7.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. but
much
I-
like Rob Cesternino will get when we discuss the
Take
match.
Gets a-
I
gets a
don't
boost.
know. I feel like
No Stephanie LaGrossa to worry about.
it's tough because I feel like you would get like one of Tina or Vesepia. I feel like those are the two I would be between.
Yeah.
See, Tina didn't even make my short list, only because we've seen a lot from Tina, and not to say that she doesn't belong as like a standout in the era. But if we're having Colby and Jerry, and maybe it's a conversation that we're not having Colby and Jerry, do we also need Tina?
May I also add to the list? I feel like we're started with the women. Just a couple other names that I think are notable to throw around here. I think Kathy should be on our short list.
Yeah.
I think that the winner of Survivor the Amazon, Jenna Maraska, should be at least mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I think you mentioned her.
Mm-hmm.
and now she is. You could also mention Kelly Wigglesworth.
Oh yeah. I
One
mean,
vote from being the first Survivor winner.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
in
Though
the
I would say
conversation.
maybe to Ali's point, like if we're trying to make sort of the quick hits of the first 7 seasons of Survivor, do like Richard and Sue kind of, and Colleen, like I think they override maybe the power that Kelly Wigglesworth had.
I agree with that, but I actually am most persuaded by Rob throwing out Jenna because like that was such a specific era. It's almost like if we threw out the other Jenna, right? Like the pink bathing suit, you know, like not that
Lewis.
it's about that, but you know, that was a huge era of like the pathway from Survivor to Playboy, right? Like like hottie strategic woman on the show. Like I think Jenna is like really a great example of this kind of early era, like celebrity kind of adjacent period.
Well, that's interesting. Yeah, that she sort of represents the pipeline to that type of world as a reality star. Okay, so basically it's Sandra, Sue,
Jerry as a
Jerry,
Jerry.
looks like Colleen, and basically a 5th spot between the 3 other.
I'm not sold on Colleen.
I'm not that sold on Colleen either. I think Colleen at this point that more feels like a niche pick of like people in this like deep dive world. Like, oh, that'd be cool, like Colleen. But I think if you're like thinking like who are the 10 Survivor players from this era? Like if you're doing Family Feud, I think Colleen's an immediate X on the list.
That's
She's
it.
not making the big board.
It's Family Feud. That's what we should be doing. That's that you should be thinking. Who would 100 people answer? That's the criteria.
Name a player from the old era.
Yeah.
I think Colleen might
depends who you are.
have a better chance of answering it that way.
It is tough. And I think this is something that challenged it too, right? Like if we were having this conversation and All Stars just aired, right? Colleen is more top of mind. And certainly for like the super fans who do this every single Wednesday in the off season to discuss this, certainly that hits. But if we're standing at season 46 and we're looking backwards, I think the challenge did a lot of people who we've seen recently who have come back, who have done All-Stars, who have done World Championships, the people who have stayed kind of engaged. And I think like if we were being more realistic, like that would change Colleen's odds of being on this cast. But we are freaks and we are doing this in the off season. So I'll endorse Mike if he feels strongly about it.
I mean, is Colleen not the Aviv of this cast?
He would be. He would be.
So, I feel like I'm saying no to Colleen, and I think it's you because you have still winners, and I feel like even Kelly Wigglesworth.
What I'd like to suggest is let's throw the male names out there, and let's see if maybe that might be a little bit instructive.
Should we just level set though? Who's even in the conversation? Because I'm kind of like
I think Sandra is the one person that we have locked.
I think Sandra's the one in.
I think Sandra, Sue, Jerry.
Sue and Jerry. I think.
That's
who are we between? So we're between Sepia, Jenna, and Colleen,
and Tina,
and Tina
for 2 spots.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
no Kathy.
I'm glad I picked my veto for this
and era. Kathy. Put Kathy in there.
Okay. All right.
In the conversation.
And then the men are going to be tough because it's so hard to narrow it down to 5 men.
Okay.
Boston Rob, this Rob, Richard Hatch,
Rupert,
Rudy. Colby.
Well, I think we're saying that Rudy. I don't think that we're putting anybody in. Mike, do I pronounce this right? Posthumously. Yeah.
So Richard, Rupert, both Robs. You could just do this on ours.
I have a really strong feeling about one of the people you're talking about. If I may offer this,
yes.
Come at me. I'm already dealing with the David Wright stands. And I do believe he belongs there. Anyway, whatever. I don't think Boston Rob fits this era. And here's why.
Okay.
I understand that he appears in this era, right? Like I know that he qualifies. But I think much like the challenge folks, Boston Rob like really has the benefit of the growth arc of having appeared more times than some people on the challenge, which is made of repeat players. And I just think he kind of becomes the lore of Boston Rob. I understand All Stars obviously counts, but just like if we're counting his like first season, his originating season, am I putting Marquesas Boston Rob in this category? And I'm not. And I know all 4 of you are going to, and it doesn't matter.
But it does include All Stars.
Yeah, but that's not his original season. All Stars really is thrown out. It's like what you guys are doing in the
Well,
whatever. That's like,
can
we're
I
not
ask, in terms of how they cast the challenge, if somebody did not necessarily become an icon their first time out, but then grew into
certainly
an
the
icon.
challenge is doing that, but what I think is different here, so yes, right, like Kara, some of the greatest people on the show, Bananas went home like his first season, and now he's got 7 rings. But I just think that's the spirit of the challenge. The challenge, all of them have been on at least 3 times, except for one person that Mike mentioned. And to me, it's not the spirit of Survivor in the same way in terms of what like suits the era. I'm looking at people who changed the game in their first season, and I'm looking at one of them right now on the screen. So that's my hot take. I know that he will be on, and I won't fight it. I don't think it doesn't make sense, but when I was putting together my list, that's how I felt.
Yeah, and just a reminder to the listeners that Ali holds all the cards in the old era.
Well,
only if there's a tie, and there will not be.
Can I just say? Well, there's 5 of us, so that's gonna be tough.
Well, we almost had one last time.
Well, we literally did. It was a 2-2-1. I don't know how I won. I don't know how that was allowed. I did not get a majority. So I would kind of agree with you about putting Boston Rob in a later era if All Stars wasn't in this era. This is why the returning seasons are important about where we put them. Also, it's defining, so it's important. If you're gonna family feud this, Boston Rob is like the #1 pick on the board. Who played
100%.
in 1 to 8?
I would also say that I do see your point about like, well, Boston Rob doesn't really come into his own until the season that he wins. I mean, I would argue Boston Rob didn't really change his game between All Stars and Redemption Island.
Wrote on that celeb.
To say like, oh, he was a completely different person between his runner-up season and his winning season.
Can I say, when I go back and like I'm recommending Survivor to people, a lot of them used to watch Survivor and they tapped out at a point. And the way I usually like get that, it's like, oh, do you remember Stephanie LaGrossa? Do you remember Rupert? Like that's how they like these like iconic people that they attach to. Boston Rob is definitely one of those people for All Stars. People can say All Stars is his biggest season, bigger than Redemption Island, probably. And probably bigger than Heroes vs. Villains, where he was only in the pre-merge.
100%. I think my error in the era is I sort of like toss out the returning seasons, and that's not fair. Like it's just like I'm looking at the first season of their appearance, but totally valid.
Okay, so my question is: is the proposal that Rob should not go here? He should be in another season, or we should not have Boston Rob on the list?
I'm here piping hot take.
Because I almost feel
not
like
on my list.
If we come away with this list of 50
you threatened
Survivor
your friendship
players,
over a thing. I'm crazy.
And we come away with this list of 50 Survivor players who should be on the Battle of the Eras, and that list does not include one Boston Rob Mariano.
The 1 point, because I disagree. I still feel like we should put him on the OG team. To Ali's point, I have a feeling we're going to be a little thin on the men's side for Era 3, so he might be able to take up a slot there.
Put a note in the comments if you disagree with me,
I just think we would need like
engagement. That's good.
We would need like a very
into it.
We would just need a very strong footnote to be like, this was determined based off each person's original season's impact and nothing else beyond that, because it's hard to justify it without that.
Put a footnote that said Ali Lasher had control of the first era, and people will just let it go.
Well, let's just come up with who are the 5 people that we are talking about? So just that we have. Do we have these 5 slam dunks?
Yeah. So I would say Richard, Rupert.
Okay.
Yourself, Boston Rob, or perhaps on the bubble, and Colby.
Those are my 5. Yeah. Am I missing anyone?
That would be my 5 too. And I don't even know who like the 6. I guess the 6 would be fair play.
Who do you have ahead of Rob?
So I have on my short list, I have Ethan.
Okay.
And a hot take, I have Lex.
I would have Johnny Fairplay over Lex.
And Fairplay.
Ultimate Revenge, I have Lex and I don't have Boston Rob.
Wow.
Take that.
I would do Fairplay.
And I have Fairplay too.
And I love Ethan, and I recently gave up everything for Ethan in another draft that we did, but I think this 5 is pretty definitive. Are we missing anyone, chat? I think, Richard, Rupert, both Robs and Colby. That's family feud.
What's funny though, not to like
how you say if you say it with confidence, it doesn't matter that I exist. It's pretty definitive, and who cares what this idiot says?
I mean, I would argue to take myself out of the list. Even
Yeah,
though
yeah.
You
Allie's-
always
yeah.
do, Rob. This is
For
the
the
summer
show.
of us feeding your ego. Come on. What do you think
But-
we're here for?
It is interesting though with Rob and like fair play.
Allie,
Like, if
by the
you're-
way, I did not remove myself from the vote. I said that it was a no-win situation for me to be in the vote.
This is Rob addressing comments that were made on a podcast that's public.
Sometimes I just listen to the podcast and then yell at my TV or my phone.
if we were trying to group people by
It wasn't weak sauce.
the era of not just where they debut, but almost like how they play, what the era of gameplay would represent. Like that would almost push like we're going back to like changing the eras, but that would like push other people to different eras. So it's like very, it's got to like be very clear like how we're like defining what the eras mean. But I guess it's
Do
where
we
they
have to
debuted.
be? Look, I've relished this fight, but obviously Boston Rob is going to be on this. Like that was not.
Mm-hmm.
But it was. But we had
What?
fun.
Did we?
I think the Colby spot could be up for grabs.
I
though.
had
don't
fun,
think the
sorry.
Colby
No,
has to be
I
as locked
think
in.
Colby is was one of the most popular people from that era. He was like the first example of the emblazoned hero in Survivor history, to the point of like him and Jerry are basically the mascots of heroes versus villains. I know, again, history looks back with the Superman in a fat suit Colby, but if we're talking about
Woo.
what represents that era, Colby's there.
Okay. So, all right. Do we have consensus around the 5 men of this
So-
team?
The one last thing I'll just say, and I didn't even put
And
fair
I swear
play
to God,
on
if I get
my
voted
dream
out
list.
again,
No. I just do think like it is in the same way that I was arguing against Boston Rob, and I think history has not been kind to Johnny Fairplay. I should say Johnny Fairplay has not been kind to anyone, but like he really does. But like again, if you're doing the Family Feud rules or who invented like being the first villain or whatever, it is crazy that we're just kind of yada yadaing him being on it, maybe because he's not anyone's favorite, but
There are only 5.
I met Johnny Fairplay earlier this year. I feel like I'm not
What a
saying
name
anything.
drop.
I just don't have
Flex.
space in the 5. So I just
So who would we
he's
kick
definitely
out?
my
Who would
favorite.
we
he
kick out
can
for
have
Fairplay?
my spot. I already said.
don't
I
wanna
think
do
it comes
that.
down to, I guess, Rupert or
I do wonder though, like if you ask the
Rupert?
100 people on the street, would fair play be said before the Rob over here? I think he probably
Which
would.
100?
Yes.
At a rap event? No.
No,
but
obviously
we
not.
need
on a
some-
rap.
On
someone
a different
likable.
street? Yeah, a little.
I
bit.
mean, there is a listen. We're all for gender parity here.
Mm-hmm.
If we feel good about
do
only
you
4
mean?
women, we could put fair play in as a 6th person,
and
make
then
it 6-4.
later, would this work?
Yeah.
Then later have more women in a different era to compensate.
Yeah. I don't know if we got to the point where we said we only feel good about 4 of the women. Like I
think
feel like
we
we
have
just
people-
circled back.
We only had 3, honestly.
Yeah.
And then, we had,
no, and then we have a list of like 5 that we had to table. I don't think we like.
I would put
No,
fair play in
I'd
over
throw another
all the
suggestion there.
ladies. No, I like it.
Honestly, I'd get rid of Colby or Rupert before I would get rid of a woman.
Allie hates the
Rupert, I
heroes.
feel like is so essential. Like I feel like Rupert is that's
Give me
one of the
5 minutes
people-
and I'll show you a picture of me beaming at 13 with a picture of Rupert in an airport in New York. I love Rupert.
Oh my god!
I love Colby, but I just do. Now I'm fighting for fair play who wasn't even on my own list. This is all upside down.
So Allie, you want fair play that as a guy number 5 over his nemesis Rupert?
I would say Rupert or Colby, because if we're casting a tribe, do we have all heroes, right? Do we have Rob C, Rob M, Colby, and Rupert? And
I mean,
no
I'd
fair
say- I'd
play?
say
Like, where's the
Rob's-
interest, baby? Where's
Rob,
the
Mhm.
interest?
Rob M, infamously a villain alongside Rupert and Colby on that season.
And
Rob,
I think
talk to the
Rob C
audience.
and Rob C would probably be on the villain tribe if he was a hero villain.
And
I'm talking about
Richard Hatch
audience
also a villain.
perception. I'm talking about audience perception.
Mm-hmm.
Let's
Yeah.
do fair
No.
play and then like Tina,
Yeah.
and then overcompensate with women in another era.
Okay. So now Thomas in the chat says that. Like I really shouldn't be there, but you all just don't want to get fired.
No,
I'm begging to be
absolutely not.
fired.
No.
I'm begging to be fired from this podcast.
That's not why you'll fire me. I'll be fired.
Fire
for
me.
different reasons.
Chappelle said, "Don't waste the spot."
You should fire
On
him.
what? Chappelle, join the chat or get out.
I mean, I think he's
Get on
doing the
camera,
chat.
get
That's
out.
the problem. Yeah.
I like the idea of banking the women's spot for later because I do think in like era 3 there might be like another woman's spot.
Okay,
that we
that's
can
not
use.
happening. That's insane.
Well, that's
no,
my
we're
era.
not banking a woman's spot when we have 9 women to choose from. That we're not banking a woman's spot.
Okay.
The
All right.
disrespect to the female
All right.
survivors.
So
in
this is
season.
coming down to, okay, we made Ali the captain here. Okay, we're going to
Thank
need to make
God.
some hard decisions here. Ali, do you want to lock the men or lock the women first?
Let's lock the men.
Okay. All right. I'm going to say the names. You tell me lock or not. Okay. Richard.
Lock.
Okay. Boston Rob.
It wasn't a tie. It was overwhelming. So lock.
Okay. Colby.
On the bubble.
Okay. Bubble for Colby. Rupert.
On the bubble.
Rupert on the bubble. Rob C.
Lock.
Okay.
Fire me and
Lock
lock it
him
in.
up. Lock him up.
No,
they say.
please, stop.
Okay. All right.
And fair play. I'm locking in fair play. So you guys can
and
choose.
fair play
Rupert
just got
or
locked.
Colby.
Yes, we love executive
Lock
orders.
him up. All right. So that leaves then potentially, or really of Colby or Rupert. Who's in, who's out?
You guys can decide that. Because honestly, it's like choosing between 2 of my aspirational sons or fathers. You can pick
You
between
gotta
them.
put Rupert in.
I would put Rupert in.
I would put
Like
Rupert in.
I Colby was great, such a seminal, historical impact on the season. Rupert is at his time the most popular contestant in Survivor history,
Yeah.
to the point that they gave him $1 million just for it.
I will
Rupert's the reason
say
I'm a Survivor fan.
travesty to not have Colby, but not on the level of the travesty would be to not have Boston Rob.
I mean,
But
do
it's
you think I'm
travesty.
insane for saying that fair play belongs in this conversation?
No, I know
too?
he has
No, they all
he
deserve
has a
to be there.
place in the history of the show for sure.
Honestly,
I think we might have to cut this, Rob, because he'll understand it.
I will
Because he's
understand
here.
it. Look, I feel like that I have a grounded sense of my part in all of this. Like, I think that I had a nice run here and we had some good times, but nobody named their baby Rob Cesternino like they did with
That's
Colby.
valid. That's
I don't
not
have
yet,
a kid
not
yet, Rob.
Nobody-
This is
Nobody
Yeah.
named
discrimination against
yeah.
childless women. If I had a kid, maybe we'd be having a different conversation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know what? I know that there was a cat. Wasn't Jay's cat? Rob has a pod cat.
I mean, look,
Yeah,
what's the
so-
chat saying? Does the chat think this fair play thing is shenanigans? Like what? Like
There's a lot of
agree.
people that
Yeah.
some people are saying drop Hatch and keep
No.
Colby.
You know what? I didn't want to come out twice, but Hatch was also not on my definitive list.
No, I think we have to.
Brian,
Jay's
Brian,
I'd rather-
you've been quiet. What do you think about all of this?
I think we have the 5. I think we're good. I think we
Well,
locked
what's
in
the
Rupert as
5?
the 5th. It was Richard, Rupert, Rob, and fair play.
No Colby.
No goal.
Okay. All right.
Rob,
So-
you're okay taking Colby's spot. You can live with yourself.
Wouldn't be the first time.
Look, give Colby my spot is what I said.
So what?
Yeah. Okay, but we gotta
So
move on.
what?
We gotta move.
You
Whether
have to
it's
move
me, whether
on.
it's Colby, we gotta move on with this.
So Sam will
5.
blame me. I don't even know how. or
Okay.
why.
We still have
All
to
right.
lock the women here.
We
I
said
think
lock
it's
the
pretty
women.
much my fault definitively. I don't think anyone's gonna blame you.
Okay.
I'm
I
Sam
think that this
definitely
might
will.
require the most conversation, honestly, this first era.
Okay.
That's one famous last words.
All right. So moving and so we're moving on here. Two Robs,
I'll make
Richard,
it white.
Rupert,
That's incredible.
Johnny Fairplay. Okay.
These are my
Yeah,
That's
credentials.
incredible.
Wow.
There you go.
Well, how is he not wearing tie-dye? That feels like seeing your
I caught him
teacher
off
at the
guard. This
store.
was not an appearance. I saw him in the airport.
Yeah. Okay.
No, where's my tie dye? He's like pulling it out like Superman.
We have Sandra.
Mhm.
We have Sandra, we have Sue, we have Jerry. We need to add 2 more locks to the list of the women. Allie, where are you
Let's go.
leaning?
Yeah,
I
just
think you
decide.
sold me on Jenna
Okay. I really just
just
threw
by
her name out
mentioning
there.
her name.
Yeah.
Just
Yes,
mentioning her name.
yes.
I sold myself.
Okay. And then we have Vesepia from your original list. The likes of Tina, Kathy, Kelly Wigglesworth, and Colleen Haskell were all mentioned.
I'm agnostic. I feel like where I would go. I know where I would go. But I'll put Jenna through and let you guys pick the last one. And I'll try to stay
Okay.
quiet.
All right, Lynn. Let me then push for Vesepia here.
That's what I was gonna push for too.
Well, then that's my list. 3 votes. Let's go.
All right.
Okay.
I'm fine
With
with
all
that.
due respect to Kathy, who I think is certainly worthy of a spot, I would say that you have Sepia, a winner. She never gets to come back on any of these All-Star seasons. For the love of God, if we're bringing back 50 people, let Vesepia in.
Yeah, imagine we left her off again.
Would
there no
not be the
Tina?
best look for this panel. Yeah.
I would say Tina over Jenna. Or are we not into that as a
I would-
conversation?
I would do Jenna over Tina, but I could be talked out of either of them. And
You're just
putting
into the challenge of younger, hotter people making up
Mhm.
the cast.
Have you met Brian? Of course.
Yeah.
Don't go to him to pick Tina.
Okay. All right.
I don't know what that
So
means, but I feel like it's not
Tina
good.
or Jenna? Okay, I'll vote for Jenna.
Okay, Jenna got the votes. I just
Let
wanted
her
to-
in. Come on. Okay. All right. So we have locked the first team.
There we go.
That was
First
so quick.
tribe. Yes. Okay.
Was it?
All right.
Was it? Was it?
Moving on.
I feel like. Go ahead.
Uh-oh.
Second
We'll bring it
tribe.
back up.
Second era. Now again. Now we have 12 seasons. To
Yeah,
talk through.
but
Yes.
there's 2 people that I think would have been in Era 1 that are in Era 2 that I think are taking up spots. I think that's really the only
Okay.
difference.
All right. 9 through 20. Brian Cohen, you are our leader. Do you have a short list?
I got a few names that I feel like would be hard not to put on there.
Okay.
So I think Stephanie for one would have to be on there.
Yeah.
I would think Parvati for one.
Yeah,
Would have to
that's
be
the
on
names
there.
I had as well.
I would think.
Did you see the
James-
report earlier today that Sharon
Yes.
Tharp was reporting that Parvati is bringing her talents to Dundee?
You know what that means, Rob?
No, I don't.
Who drafted Parvati to play on a reality television show in the
Oh.
next year? Is that the first confirmed points possibly for me?
Yes.
I'm leading a draft right
Okay,
now.
leading a, Shannon is
Not
leading
every
a draft.
There
draft.
we
They
go. One,
can say
1
that
to
it's
0
good.
to 0 to 0 to 0.
Actual,
Yes.
oh, is it 1 point? Yeah, I thought 2. 1 point for me. Yes.
Yes, but probably a sign not going to be playing Australian Survivor.
Yeah, she's kind of
Yeah.
shocking to me.
hmm
Maybe she can
Okay.
do both. She has time. She can do both.
All right.
So Parvati,
Okay. So Parvati,
Stephanie,
Steph,
Parvati.
James.
James, okay.
I think
Ooh,
so.
Mike with the doubt.
No, I'm just thinking about
James.
it again. Like, yeah, James. No, I'm trying to think about the fact that like James and Amanda did play 3 times in this era.
JT, Russell.
Oh,
Okay.
interesting.
So I'll start with those
Great.
5.
All right. So those 5. Okay. Well, Mike also threw out Amanda.
Amanda.
Who
I
I
mean, I'm
think
gonna
should-
throw out freaking Sari Fields.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What about Coach
Coach.
Yep.
Yeah.
Tyson?
I mean, it's basically like combining Micronesian Heroes villains. I feel like
Mm.
anyone
Yes,
not on those seasons, I feel like it's gonna be very hard for them to make.
That's
Well,
that's where we benefit from in these first 2 seasons. That we have actual returnee seasons
Yes.
of like, oh, these people are the ones that should get brought back.
Has
Ozzy?
Tom been said?
I think Tom and Stephanie were the 2 that I think would have been in contention for Era 1 and now are in Era 2.
Yeah. I mean, you have the Vanuatu people. You have Amy.
Did Brandon Donlin not sell everyone on Chris Daughtry or no? Just me?
I think the problem is that there's so many people that came back
Yeah.
from this era that it's gonna be tough to find like a spot for Chris Doherty, you know?
Mhm.
I think Gio would kill us if we didn't mention.
Cancel me.
We have to mention Earl at
Earl,
least. Gio
yeah.
would kill us. I feel like if we didn't
Yeah.
mention.
Yeah.
Are we looking at all into like the makeup of the tribe of like, okay, we just can't have like bring back like 5 like macho like muscle guys? Like, are we looking to have any sort of balance in these tribes?
That's why
or it's
we
just a wish
cast
list?
you.
Yes,
And
no, I
insisted
know.
on you
Yes,
in the-
Rob, you're the muscle.
Yes.
I mean, I think Jonathan
Me
Penner
and Johnny
could be one.
Fairplay.
Mm-hmm.
That's the tough thing is like we have, you know, a season like Cook Islands, which has bred a good amount of legends and multiple time returnees. But to Rob's point, would they take up about half of a tribe?
Mm-hmm.
I heard bread. I haven't eaten yet.
Okay.
Well,
Penner?
did someone say Ozzy, Penner?
Yes,
Yeah.
Like,
Ozzy
this
Penner.
is rich.
So I've
This
got
is rich.
James, JT, Russell, Coach, Tyson, Tom, Ozzy, Earl, Chris, and Penner.
And
So
Yao
man.
Man.
Jeez, could we bump some of these men to the third era? Jeez, a lot of names here.
Stay in your lane, Captain Brian.
I do think Yao Man was like so popular at the time. I think he should be in the conversation. But if I had to have a top 5, I would say I think Russell, James, Coach, Tyson, and Ozzy.
Okay.
See, like Tyson's like the kind of Tyson is almost like the ball,
Tyson
like
would be
Boston
more
Rob
from
of
the
this
third
era. Yeah,
Yeah.
because he's not really as much from. I mean, obviously he's very much this era, but his impact was not this era.
So here's why I was prepared for that argument, because I agree with you, but I also think Tyson on his first season being like the male bitch, like the mean boy, is very iconic and game changery and of that era. So I do think in his first season, he like even alone lives up to this, much less the rest of his journey.
And this would sort of be a case like the Boston Rob, where it could be like, well, Tyson really comes into his own on his third season, but this is the season he technically started on.
Right.
That said, people that are in locked for me are definitely Russell and Ozzy. I think those are two of the biggest names. Like, I think JT, if there were enough spots, could be a fun representation, because this was an incredibly popular winner. And then sort of, again, someone that has this fun returning appeal of like, you never know what's going to happen when you bring him back. But I do feel like Coach, I think I would put in above him just because of the legacy he's provided as a Survivor character.
And I think James is a lock. To me, he's like the Rupert of this
I
era.
think
Like,
you guys
if
are
they
being
gave
way
another
too high
$1
on
million
James.
prize, just for the popularity of this era, like if they did $1 million vote after Heroes Villains, I feel like he wins that the way Rupert wins.
I mean, he won the fan favorite prize.
Whose shoes are we standing in, though? Again, it's like, are we talking about Colleen in season 8 shoes? Are we talking about in 2024 looking at the totality of the franchise? I love James. I don't have a picture of him with my grandma like I did Rupert, but
he did say New Orleans, which is where James is from.
But I think someone like a Yao Man, in terms of the mix of popularity and just like longevity of that moment, I'm more convinced there. And I think
you got Johnny Fairplay there. Will he slam his head into the boat again?
Yes.
I think with James, if we're looking at like what represents this era, James played to and through a merge 3 times in 5 seasons, or through 15 to 20. He and Amanda, I think, defined so much of that era, and I do think it has staying power, and I do think that it's what you would remember if you were to say it like on a Family Feud perspective. So I think James is like a character you go back to of like, oh, what do you remember about that time?
Also,
so, yeah, I feel strongly about it.
Push for Shane Powers also from the chat.
I'm sorry. Like, I know that people were begging for T-Bird for Era 1. Like, this is not the wish list, loves. This is not, we can't necessarily, in these early eras especially, push for like people that have only been on one season.
I guess what's our ultimate route? Like, who defined the era? Is that what we're coming down
to?
That's
how I'm doing like a defining era.
Russell, look, people may or may not enjoy Russell, but in terms of somebody who defined an era, like I feel like going back to my earlier conversation, I think he's the one person, the one singular player that I think defines an actual era of the show.
100%.
Which is why I push so hard for fair play, for the same reason, right? He doesn't have to be your favorite, but yeah, I think Russell's a lock. Look, my 5, I think, and I love Penner. That would be like my Shane pick for the people in the chat writing about Shane. But my 5, and I know it's not going to get through here, would be Ozzy, Yao Man, Russell, Tyson, and Coach.
Ozzy, Yao Man. I'm sorry, Russell, Ozzy, Yao Man,
Tyson and Coach.
Okay.
I have that, but James instead of Yao Man. I think they sit in a similar spot.
I think that's.
I agree.
It kind of sounds like that's what it's coming down to. Is like, is it Yao Man or is it James?
Okay. All right. I would be James over Yao Man.
I'm James over Yao Man.
Okay, so that we've done.
Okay.
We did it, Joe. Wow. There you go.
Tom Westman got a shocking little amount of love, though, in this conversation.
Well, you know what? Because he's on my list for 1 to 10, because I prepared based on the graphics. So,
I don't think he would have made it.
You said Tyson.
I agree with Shannon. I don't think he would have made it.
You had Tyson as one of those 5.
Yeah. See, I would have Tom. I would have Tom over Tyson.
And I could be talking to Yao Man over time. I wouldn't have Tyson in my 5.
I want to, but it's not what we've said. I want it we'll see how the third group goes. But I put Yao in and shift Tyson to the next.
You can't shift
You definitely
to
can't
another
do
seat.
that.
You cannot
But
do
I
that.
want to. But I
Definitely.
wanted-
Okay, well, that's
I
noted.
wanted
The record shall so
Yao in.
reflect. Brian, I'll go with you on giving up
If we-
Tyson
if
for
we
Yao
did
Man.
it 1 through 10 in the first one, you could have put Tom as the 5th guy.
Yeah,
We
but
wouldn't
then,
have.
and
We
then
would-
Rob
we
would
had
get
way too many
Rob
guys.
is
He's
willing
privileged.
himself off this podcast.
And then
We
let
tried to
Tyson
cut
be
you.
on
Is
this
anybody
list.
else buying that deal? Is anybody else flipping with me against Tyson and going with me and Brian with Yao Man over Tyson?
I'd rather have Tom instead of Yao Man.
Tom
I
is
was gonna do
no,
Yao Man.
Surely not Tom.
Well, I've got 2 votes for Yao Man. I'm just saying if there's a third here that wants to join us, or if all 3 of you want to flip to
Is
Tom.
it Yao Man versus James or Yao Man versus
Well,
Tyson?
now it's Yao Man versus Tom versus Tyson.
See, I
James
feel
is
like
my favorite
I think we
season.
have the locks are Russell right now, like based on discussion. Russell, Coach, Ozzy as locks.
James.
Russell.
And I think James was in, but
All 4
Yeah,
of
maybe
you
not.
locked in James, so that I don't think that's
Yeah.
up for
James.
debate.
So
I just
Russell,
think
Coach,
that-
Ozzy, and James are in, and then who's the 5th?
I thought we did it.
I think if we can't move Tyson to another era, I think we have no credibility if we walk away with this list of 50 people and Tyson's not on it.
I agree, Tyson. I choose Tyson.
I was in on Tyson was always on my original list, but I'm just saying that Brian said he'd flip Tyson for Yao Man. I said I would do
Yeah.
that too. It sounds like
It-
2 no's and 1 silent person over there who wants to move it, Tom. So I don't think we're getting any bite.
I'm the
I
Tom
think it's
vote.
Tyson.
I just
think
feel like
it's
if
Tyson.
you were around the water cooler at your office tomorrow and people were talking about, hey, did you hear that podcast where
Water
they made the
cooler?
list of the
Don't
top
hate yourself.
50
Rob-
survivors for Battle of the Eras, and they left Tyson off? Like, what a bunch of idiots!
Well,
But
let me
they
spin
say-
that.
did you hear they left Yao Man off? Like, oh, okay, I guess it was.
Okay. At least they're talking about it, you know? If
Yeah.
we just make the list that
That's
everybody
true.
expects we make, nobody's talking about the water
That's true.
cooler.
So
It's look
we
at these
should-
jamokes making the same list that I
We
would've
already
made.
left Colby off.
That's good. I feel like we're
That's why I
doing
feel
the
like we should put
defining
Tom on.
thing. We're doing
I'll say
that with
this.
you. They're meant to agree.
I'll remind you of this. It's 2-2-1, and Brian
do have
is
final
the
say.
deciding vote.
That's bad.
Ryan, I will end
Okay.
our friendship.
All right, well, all right,
Oh, we're friends. Oh, I love that.
all
We're
right.
friends.
We've said all we need to say. Brian Cohen, the 5 men in the second era are who?
Russell, Coach, Ozzy, James.
Nah, I'll flip to Tyson. Never mind.
Tyson.
Oh,
Tyson.
I'm
Yeah.
kidding. I'm kidding.
Oh,
Okay,
man.
great.
No, Brian, I'm kidding. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No,
go ahead,
it's
go ahead.
fine. It's fine. We can do Tyson.
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm sorry. I couldn't resist.
I'm just sitting on my little buoy for 12 hours. Still
Yeah.
waiting for Tom.
Is it Tyson?
It's Tyson.
James,
Okay.
Russell, Coach, Tyson.
We did it.
Ozzy.
A lot of
Okay.
honorable
right.
mentions. Earl, Yule, Yam, 100%. It sucks that we couldn't include them all. For
Okay.
the women, I
I
think,
think
there
for
are
the women,
4
I have 4 locks, and then there's like
All right,
Okay.
wait, where's
Yeah.
the 4
Those-
locks?
I don't know how if Parvati, Steph, Sari, and Amanda aren't on.
Yep.
That's perfect.
That's okay.
100%.
Who is our 5th
So then who's the 5th?
woman of this
Oh.
era?
May I suggest Sugar?
Corinne
Courtney
Kaplan.
Courtney.
Can I
Yates.
suggest Crystal Cox? No.
Courtney.
If I left and just left this photo, would anyone notice?
Oh, yes, Ali, the About Fair Play supporter.
Okay. Courtney is a very interesting suggestion.
a
Might
fun
I
group
remind
of
you,
women.
you have Vanuatu at your disposal also.
Yeah, we could have an Amy or an Eliza.
Mm-hmm.
Eliza
Courtney
behind
Yates.
one of the biggest memes of
Danny
the season.
Boatwright.
All right.
Hmm.
And then we have the serious suggestions of we have Sugar. I'll keep stubbing for Sugar. We talked about the massive popularity of people like Rupert. Like
Mhm.
Sugar was the character from Survivor Gabon initially.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm debating
like-
between Amy and Sugar right now.
Oh, not even Courtney?
Personally, I like Courtney, but
It is interesting. Oh, I was just saying, Amanda's repping it for China, I suppose.
yeah, that would be a
Hmm.
lot. And James is on there too.
Who am I
Okay.
voting between?
What season does this go through?
Natalie White is also Shambo.
Yeah.
Could be fun. Okay.
I have my
Uh,
finger on Sugar right now.
Sugar. All right. You're locked, Brian.
sure
I'm
not.
loving
I
Courtney.
mean, all right, sure, let's lock.
Okay. All right. We are locked in. Stephanie, Parvati, Amanda, Sari, and Sugar are the 5 women of the 9 through 20 era. The next era was defined as 21 to 31.
We didn't name the eras.
Well, that's going to be for after the show.
Old school, and then
Oh, you know what?
know.
No, I like this. Let's do what they've been doing for the Big Brother live feed updates. I think people in the comments and the chat afterwards can name the eras themselves.
Tune in to the preview of episode 0 of the challenge with me, Mike, and Brian, and we will reveal the results.
Oh,
There we
okay.
go. I love that.
Go to robbinswebsite.com/challenge feed so you don't miss it.
Boom.
Okay. All right. Shannon, this is your
Thank
buckle
God.
up, everybody.
Finally,
Okay.
nice to be back in control.
21 to 31. All right.
Shannon's
Yep, I have
favorite
not
era.
thought about it.
Okay. Do you
Okay,
have your
let's try.
potential favorites coming in for the men
Let
or
me
for the
just think
women?
off the top of my head. Tony, Jeremy.
Okay.
What am I thinking? Men or women? But I really feel like Tyson should have been
So
here. But Cochran.
stick with the men. Stick with the men.
Cochran.
Mhm.
Possibly Malcolm.
Mm-hmm.
Pretend like it's a Survivor draft.
Yeah,
First
it's okay.
four,
Tony
right?
and Jeremy are locks, and Cochran, I think, is a top 3.
Tony,
Does anyone
Jeremy,
else wanna-
Cochran. Okay.
Yeah. I think Malcolm should be on there.
100%.
Yeah, 100%.
Yep. Okay, so that was my top 4. So that's where I went instinctively. See, if the one with Tony, Jeremy, Cochran, and Malcolm.
May
Tony,
I
Jeremy-
offer
Yes,
a controversial choice?
please.
Yes.
I'm just making sure I'm in the right era
Papa Bear?
because no, I have to. What seasons are up for this again? No,
21 through 31.
Okay, so is Philip in the conversation?
Okay, I mean, he did define the era.
Is Philip in the conversation?
I think there's a
We can
legitimate
talk
chance.
about-
Yeah.
We can talk about it.
Especially
imagine
when Malcolm,
Boss
Tony,
Rob didn't
Jeremy.
get on. Philip did.
He was on, that was
I
my
will carry
list.
on your legacy.
Mhm.
Don't worry. I have read the book.
If BR was here, this is how he would play.
BR, the 51st player.
Okay. Is there anybody that's some notable other figures? Yes, Mike?
Brad,
I mean,
Brad Culpepper.
it ain't a great season for the men. That's what I'm saying. It ain't a great series. Oh, well, actually, I mean, here's the thing. Again, looking back in retrospect, Spencer.
I was just gonna say.
Mm.
Oh
Spencer.
yeah. Hmm.
But I feel like Cochran over Spencer, and then
That's true as well.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just looking through my list of all Survivor players.
I mean, as we're slowly eliminating people who have won 5 immunity challenges. I'll throw Mike Holloway out there. I don't know if he'll make it, but
Yeah, but a one-time appearance
yeah.
overall.
If there was a time to do it, it would be this era where I think we are good on 4
Yeah,
men and we are
Tony,
looking for one
Jeremy,
more.
Cochran, Malcolm, Philip. I mean, all these people played multiple times.
That's true.
For me,
I like Philip as the
Yeah, I
my
think this
my
is-
5 would be Tony, Jeremy, Cochran, Malcolm, Spencer. In that it like ends on second chances. He gets to the end, top 4 twice in a couple of seasons. That would be.
But as fun as Spencer was, I feel like he was always like overshadowed by bigger. Like Tony overshadowed him. I feel like Philip was almost like the co-star of like his seasons, whereas Spencer was just more like a fun player.
And I do think that Philip kind of does represent, the a lot of stuff from those first 4 seasons, right? Which is kind of like big outlandish moments, negativity, maybe not the best strategy as well. And so he does kind of represent that group as too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I feel like that we have Cochran, we have Malcolm. I feel like that Spencer fits somewhere in between them. I feel like we have the two like extremes of the extremes of Spencer could go lots of different ways. But
Chat is saying Keith Nail as well.
yeah, be like a doff of the cap to Keith Nail, but we didn't put Rudy through. So honorable mention for
captains.
sure. Yeah. Okay. All right. So right, I think that maybe Shannon. What do you think?
What, I voted on my
Did
own
we-
season?
We can
it's
vote
the
on
Boston
it.
Rob effect. It's 4 people.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Philip kind of represents the Dark Ages in a way that the others don't. Cochran to a degree.
Mm-hmm. He just, I think,
Oh.
really was like such a big part of like the 2 seasons that he played on that they brought him back immediately.
Mm-hmm.
If we family feud it, right, I think Phillips there over Spencer. Maybe not in this RHAP audience, but in the larger audience.
Mm-hmm.
All right, sounds like you guys are all into it, so that's the 5.
And
The
Phillips
winner's
still gets
tougher.
talked about on the show. I mean,
it's fine.
only,
I mean, yeah,
only
Q just
Banu
mentioned him.
talked about Spencer in his pregame. He wanted to play like Spencer.
Well, if we did everything Banu said, if Banu jumped off
The
a
world
bridge,
would be a better place. We'd all
Yeah,
be
hey,
rich and playing
we're
hard.
not up to Banu yet. That's when we get to his era in the 40s.
Just wait until I cast 10 Banus.
Yeah.
I
All right.
really wish
All right,
Tyson was
that's it
here.
for me. I'm out now.
All right. Shannon, we need the women of the 21 through 31 era.
Yeah, so I think some locks. Natalie Anderson,
Okay.
Kim,
Okay, yeah. Kim.
the era. I think really defines the big movie era.
Mhm.
I think Kelly Wentworth, very much because those are the 2 seasons, including 31.
By the way, check out Kelly Wentworth on this week's Claim to Fame recap with Jenny
Ooh.
Autumn and
Oh,
I,
that's so
dropping
awesome.
Thursday morning. Be on the lookout for that.
Okay. So those are some locks for me. Do you want to throw out some other names?
Well, Sophie.
Sophie, Abby Maria.
Abby? Yeah.
I think you could have one of Abby or Cass. I know they complement each other very well, but I
Yeah.
don't know what the tribe would do with 2 of them on.
Wow.
Denise, if you want to put
Yeah.
Malcolm and Denise back.
Controversial opinion. There's never a list related to Survivor that I will not put Franny on. I know she doesn't
Wow.
necessarily belong here,
Francesca.
but
Yes. Oh, Andrea.
She's on my list.
Andrea's a good one too.
So are we saying Sierra's a lock for this list? Because I didn't think she would be
Yeah,
like
I mean,
a
I
lock
think
lock.
like
She's a lock for me.
yeah, Sierra, to Shannon's point, like was somebody that had this major impact on Blood versus Water, helps instigate the second ever rock draw in Survivor history. She voted out her mom. Like, again, I think she's one of these people that we look back in hindsight being like, remember when everyone was so high on Sierra, but like she does represent that era very well.
Mhm. Okay, well then this
That's
is going to be
Sierra.
a harder conversation, I think, than the men's side because I
You
think
can't
that we
see
have
the
like,
era without Sierra.
There we go. I love that. Can't spell it Sierra without
Mhm.
era.
yeah. Okay.
So we have about 1 spot open. Is that all we have?
Well,
I
wait,
mean,
I
so-
don't. Go
yes,
ahead.
Sally?
Well, because so I didn't. Obviously we don't have the exact same list. I think Sierra is a lock for me, and I think Kim also
Yeah.
has to be there. But everybody else, to me, like obviously, again, I'd have my 5, but I think is more variable. Did everyone agree with who are the other ones? Natalie.
So
and
Natalie
Wentworth?
Anderson, with Sierra Easton,
Mhm.
Kelly Wentworth were the
And
4 that we originally started
Is
with.
Wentworth a lock?
I think
I think Wentworth is a lot.
I mean, should I? I'll throw out some, but go ahead, Ali.
I was gonna say I think here we have to kind of discuss like the quote unquote archetypes or the mix of the tribe in terms of like a similar archetype in like maybe a Wentworth, a Kim Spradlin, and Natalie. I know it's not like a perfect 1-for-1, but are we
Mhm.
with Sierra, Kim, Wentworth, and Natalie? Are we kind of like having a pretty specific type of player versus like spanning the era, or maybe this was just the definitive kind of type of player? And I know there's differences in their games, like, and I know that, but I don't know that we have like an amazing mix. But
I mean, I'll throw out another name.
yeah.
Sarah Lucina.
Yeah.
I just feel like part of this decision for me is like if like and I've gotten to be around a lot of these different players and to see like the reaction that a Survivor fan has when they meet this person is almost like the biggest. And I feel like that Wentworth gets that pop. Like I think that you go to the right place, people are crying when they meet Kelly Wentworth.
I'm not coming out against Kelly Wentworth. She's on my list too. But like, are we? I'm just looking at if are those 4 locks, and are we casting a real tribe, or are we picking like 5 fan favorites? Like, I guess now in our 5th discussion about this,
Yeah.
what are we doing?
I think we're looking for the icons of the era.
Then
What
if it's
about
icons? Then I would say
Turin?
Or icons who at least got started in this era. Like Andrea for me is like another one that I would stump strongly for.
Yeah, but if Andrea's
Andrea.
on, then it's going to be a bad season just because she's a person. that
Yeah,
way.
that's true.
Yeah. I think
I think Abby
With-
needs a lot of mention in terms of like the icons of the show. I mean, I think she was such a huge part for her 2 seasons.
Mhm.
that I would put her up for me ahead of Sierra and Kelly, but I know that's not going to happen. But at least for the 5th spot, she would be there for me.
For Sarah Lucina, I feel like she represents the next era, but she's not in that era, so she kind of falls into neither. I think I want to lock in Natalie Anderson, Kim Sierra, and Kelly Wentworth. That would be my 4, and then I'd be happy with an Abby or a Cass.
So say it again. So Natalie, Kim, Sierra, Wentworth. That's the 4 locks so far.
Yeah.
Shannon, is that correct?
Yeah.
And then okay.
Cass,
I didn't have
Abby or Sophie.
I think we need to have one of Cass or Denise as like an older
Denise.
female contestant who like slays in this era, right?
I feel like that Cass is the person who still gets talked about. That like if you are like 20 seasons later and people are still like talking about you, I feel like
I mean, Denise gets mentioned all the time, though. Every season, it's like a who's the Malcolm with Denise. I feel like Denise gets mentioned all the time.
Malcolm and Denise gets brought every season.
Especially in the new era, because every season's in the new era.
At least the last
Who was the last Malcolm and Denise before this?
Before Charlie and Maria?
I'm not good on the spot, but I feel like it's come up.
It came up last season.
For me, it goes Abby, Cass, Denise. That would be the order of my preference.
I think we should bump one of the other 4, but we're not gonna. It's fine.
Yeah.
I just think it's a little boring. Like, I don't think we have any zhuzh. We've got Phillip, but
yeah. See, like, I think that what Sierra did, like, Sierra voted out her mom. I think, like, really like kicked off the big moves era. But I feel like that Sierra herself does not need to be there for me.
But like, hasn't that? I mean, that's like. Isn't that agreed upon as one of the more like overrated? Like she voted out her mom, but her mom
Rob's
out. She
agreeing
just
with
tossed
you,
the vote.
yeah.
It's not,
Rob's
like,
agreeing with you. Rob wants to get Sierra out.
So
Yeah.
I
It's
really,
almost
she's
Sierra
like
for Abby and Cass.
like somebody who was not necessarily like the all-time player, but had like a huge moment.
She came back twice in this era. I feel, and then like Jeff loved her. I feel like she was spoken about so much.
So Sierra is probably the person that we're even talking about that I really want to see come back. However, I will flip with Brian and Rob if there's a person we can align on, only because I just think
gameplay.
I'm looking at the rest of the tribe and I just don't think it's that interesting on the women's side and that representative of like how interesting and different sort of these games are of the women on the larger list.
Well, that's why I said there's an open slot, and if you take out Sierra, I would put in Abby and Cass. I think those would be the other 2.
I don't think we can put Cass in. I want Cass, but I don't think we can put her in over Sierra.
I thought Cass was already in the 5th spot. Without even in your 4, who is your 5th in your lock 4?
Natalie Anderson, Kim Sierra, and Kelly Wentworth.
Right. So who is the 5th?
There was
also,
no
just to clarify.
Right. So I thought Cass was going into your 5th spot in general.
Oh, I know. Abby, Cass. Yeah, probably.
So I don't think it's a 1-for-1 sub of like Sierra and Cass necessarily, because I think. Go ahead, Mike. Sorry.
No, I was gonna say, just to clarify, Chappelle's chaotic ass in the chat. This is for 20 through 31. So it's not like we're saying, oh, we're putting Wentworth in, even though she's barely on Samuel Desor. This does include Cambodia too.
Mm-hmm. Now, had we not included Boston Rob, I guess you could make that argument of that she did not have a huge impact in her own first season. But he's in.
Okay. Someone's gonna have to.
So Shannon, you've locked Sierra in as captain of the 21 through 30.
Is it we did? But is it a captain no matter what, or is it if it's a tie?
I thought it was still a vote. Yeah, I thought it was only a tie that
Okay, for vote.
Okay. I guess it's Sierra or what is the question?
Sierra or Abby, I think, is the question. Or so it's 2 spots open. It's Sierra, Cass, or Abby. I thought most of us.
Yeah, I think it's 3 to fill 2 spots, basically, right?
Mm-hmm.
With Denise not in the mix, right? Denise is not. Also.
Yeah, I don't think she defines the era as much, but she was a good honorable mention for me. But.
See, I feel like for me, it's like Abby or Cass, and I would lean Cass over Abby.
Oh, interesting. I'd lean Abby over Cass. Abby makes it to the penultimate episode of both of her seasons.
Are you guys putting Sierra in?
I wouldn't.
I would put Cass and Abby over Sierra just based on the rest of the people we're putting in, but whatever. I think whatever.
We could do a challenge votes for 2 people at a time. Should we vote
are
for
we
2
trying
people
so,
and Callie up the votes for those 2?
Okay. So we're trying to fill out of 2 slots, Sierra, Abby, or Cass. Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. Look, can we take okay. All right. Ali, Sierra, Abby, Cass. Pick 2.
I mean, I'd pick, Franny or Sophie, but no, I'll put Cass and Abby out of those 3. But I think it's a win-win-win. So if it ends
Okay.
up being Sierra,
Yeah,
great.
we're doing like an
right,
outcast style
Brian.
vote here.
I'm on Cass and Abby.
Cass, Abby. Okay, Shannon.
Sierra and Abby.
Okay,
Well,
Rob.
Sierra and Cass, I don't really mind. See, I just
Well,
very
you
much
gotta pick
Sierra.
one. You gotta okay. Sierra
I
and
pick
what?
whatever's gonna get
You
the
abstain?
fewest
You
votes to
abstain on
take
your
from
second?
Sierra. Yeah, just
Okay,
Sierra.
so
And
only
you
a
guys can choose
Sierra
the other
vote.
one.
Then controversial take. Let Shannon put Sierra in. Then it's her era.
Okay.
So whatever.
I'll say
Sierra.
Sierra and Cass.
And I will say Sierra and Abby.
Oh, so
gosh.
Sierra either
We're
way.
gonna
Great.
actually have to
Okay.
break the
All
tie
right, so
on
this-
Cass and Abby.
So Sierra and Abby.
Yeah, so it's Sierra and there's
There's a tie.
there's 3 Abby votes, there's 3 Cass votes, and there's 3 Sierra votes.
God damn it!
So Shannon,
Sierra
you pick. You do you.
and
Wait, how is that possible?
Sierra and
Shannon
Abby.
didn't vote, so it's
Done.
9 votes.
Sierra and Abby. We did it.
Cass going as an alternate. Congratulations.
Sierra,
You'll
Abby.
be flown to
Okay.
Fiji.
Okay. And then the men,
Oof, I
Tony,
regret it.
Jeremy,
I could've put
Cochran,
Captain. Okay.
Malcolm, Phillip. Locked?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Moving on to the this is I'm the captain now, okay?
Okay.
32 to 40.
Barcod.
Okay. All right. Let's go.
All right, throw some names out, Rob.
Okay?
Are you even a fan
David
of this
Wright.
era?
You're the
No,
captain.
no,
Throw some names
um,
out.
Okay. Well, I might have not done a lot of prep for this. But Christian Hubicki.
Yeah, so this is interesting, right? Because we're gonna get some returnees on this season, but the majority of these are gonna be one-time players.
Angelina.
Okay.
On my list.
All over the.
Let's start with the men. How about
Yes, so-
Dom and Wendell?
Dom and Wendell.
I'm throwing names out here. This is not like a locked
Christian,
list.
Dom, and Wendell.
Okay.
Dare I, Ali? Dare I say David Wright?
Say David Wright. I think Zeke's there too.
Mike White. I said Mike White.
There you go. You got your wasn't mentioned.
Adam has to be. I feel like Adam has to be a lock.
I mean, I do think though a lock has to be Rick Devens.
Devins.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm just going back. Allie, you've had
Not that
such
deep.
strong feelings on so many different people from this era.
Yeah. We've had some fun podcasts, Rob, in this
Yes.
timeline.
Thank you for
like,
always
this
keeping
is-
it interesting.
I'm not hating on Rick Devens. I have nothing but respect for Rick Devens and his whole family and everything that he's done.
Mhm.
And what he did to launch the On Fire with Jeff Probst podcast, of which I am a vocal fan.
Yeah.
I don't know that he's a lock. Like, I'm surprised you're all like, he's a lock. Like,
He's
I
a
think
lock.
he's a debated person who maybe makes the list, probably, but he's a
The
lock.
issue here is that with a lot of these people do not come back
Yeah.
a lot in the 30s.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be probably like 6 of these people that we're talking about who return. Six to
Mhm.
8, I think.
I feel
No
like
Ty,
Ben-
the originator of
Ben-
the CEO award.
Mm-hmm.
Ty could definitely be up there.
Ben.
Yeah.
Ben,
Ben
I
is a
think-
returnee. Yeah.
To me, I think Zeke is a lock. I don't like saying it's a lock because we're all going to discuss it. But for me, it's like Zeke, David Wright, Mike White, Ty, and somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Adam.
Okay.
I've got a type, don't I? Look at that list. That's
know.
the
Okay.
same person. Damn.
Wow.
Okay. Scratch that. Scratch that.
All right. Chris Underwood.
Yeah, like Ali being like, are we
Under who?
worried we're casting
to
too many
find
of the same
something.
people?
Yeah.
And then
Did we
lock
say
us out?
Davey? Did we say Davey?
I would say Davey, but I think that I probably put a Christian over a Davey.
Mm-hmm.
I think Christian and Wendell are like, I would put them in ink.
Here's a hot take.
Yeah.
I think Wendell and Dom get substituted for the real game changer of that season, Laurel, casting the tie-breaking vote, the first ever tie-breaking vote. Don't you want to see Laurel again? You know, we've
Yeah.
seen them on
Well,
the challenge.
you might-
Where
you
is
might-
Laurel? Show me Laurel again.
You might hear that very question asked tomorrow on the wish list with Bryce Isaiah.
Oh.
Baby boy.
Okay. All right. So let's get to our locks. Christian will be a lock. Okay.
I think I would personally say Dom is a lock. I don't know if Wendell is.
Wow.
That's only because you haven't seen him play again. But like, if this was you're casting for the era of like their important.
I mean,
No,
he
he's saying
saw
Dom
the
is a
Challenge
lot.
USA. He saw Challenge USA.
I mean, I think I think that Dom is somebody, and maybe it's tough because to your point, Brian, so much of the discourse has been clogged with like, why hasn't I wish XYZ person came back, and maybe it's because Wendell was excluded from that conversation. But Dominic is someone who is always talked about as like, we need to see them play Survivor again.
Sure,
I think
and if this
Wendell
was,
over
like,
Dom.
answer, but I feel like if that's not what this exercise is, I feel like this is who represents the era, and like Wendell beat Dom. So
I feel like that the drum beat for Dom to play again has been a little quiet the last couple of years.
Well, again, check out the podcast tomorrow on the Survivor 50 wish list. Maybe that drum beat's starting again.
Maybe.
And he did play again. He just played on a different CBS show.
Yeah. Okay. Shannon, how are you feeling here?
Yeah, I feel like Christian. This is hard. Christian, David Wright, Devins. Christian and Devins for me are the two lockiest locks. And David Wright does play twice in this time.
David Wright.
And I do think is memorable. I might take him the most of the Millennials versus Gen X people. Ty, I think Ty really defines a lot of the season, this era. And then maybe we don't do Dom and Wendell because they kind of speak for each other. So one of the two.
So I would have, and this is going to be a shock, Ty, Zeke, David Wright, Wendell, and Devins over Christian. I came down to Mike White,
Zeke.
Devins, or Christian.
I can't
David
cut Christian. I feel like Christian is so defining.
I'm beyond the point of thinking anyone's going to agree with me. I'm just saying it because I'm here. That's where I would go.
Yeah, so Ali, say that one more time.
I have
Ty,
so
Zeke,
I Ty,
David
Zeke,
Wright.
David Wright, Wendell, and then I was between Adam, Christian, Devins, and Mike White, and could be happy anyway, but I went Devins.
Okay. All right.
Me
So
to
in
me.
terms of where I'm leaning, okay, I think the three locks for me, I think right now are Christian, David Wright, and I think Rick Devins is a lock for the men of the 30s.
Christian,
32
David
to
Wright,
40 specifically.
And then I really feel like we should push for Ty. Gets to the
I'm with you. Ty,
end-ish
100%.
of
I mean, Rob is the
2
tiebreaker.
seasons in a row.
I'd
this is the
say Ty as well.
And I'm not as high on the Ty.
You're not as high on Ty? Why?
So many rhymes.
Is the SIA award not defined this era?
The CEO award does. I'm not out on Ty. But so and then who gets to call
Ty
it
and
Dom or Wendell?
Wendell.
That was a tie too.
How would it not be Wendell? I don't understand. Like, I guess we
this is also
see
40.
Dom play again,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
but
I would say if you're
like,
defining Wendell's 40 performance, I don't know if you're.
Well, he does play
Okay.
again. He does win. Maybe we should break the tie the same way
right.
Laurel did and give it to Wendell and
So-
Ty, and then it's a tie.
So it would
tie,
be
and we do
Christian,
that.
David Wright, Rick Devins, Ty, Wendell.
Yeah.
I'm good with that.
Any
No,
strong
Zeke.
push?
We're not even talking about Zeke.
Oh, Zeke. Yeah, Zeke is. I would have Zeke over Ty.
I would have maybe Zeke over David Wright. I feel like they start representing similar things in terms of millennials versus Gen X.
Aren't Christian, Devins, and David Wright 3 spots that should be 2 spots?
You feel like get rid of one of the glasses guys?
Like, right? Like,
David, right?
I feel like we're taking like unique stories out of this and we're putting in kind of a similar, like if we're really casting, would we put all 3 of them on this tribe?
But if someone were to answer Family Feud,
If we wanted like a name that's very different than all these, and if we're treating
it's been an
people
hour
in
and a
the
half and we're
Survivor
still not
bubble,
agreeing.
Okay.
we can mention
All right.
Joe.
So I think. All right.
No,
If I was gonna-
Joe's not
all right.
interesting.
Joe's not
Ali,
even in this era.
No, Joe's not in this era.
No,
We
we
missed
missed Joe. We missed Joe.
We missed
Joe played
Joe.
him first on season 30.
Darn.
Okay. So
Drat.
I would say of the 3, then I would take the lock off of David Wright. Because
Yeah.
I mean,
feel
you guys
like,
don't have to agree. That's just what I'm looking at. But you guys can put all 3 of them through. But to take Zeke and Ty and replace them with someone I think
Okay.
we've already have covered.
all right. If it's Christian, Rick Devins, Zeke, Ty, Wendell.
Yeah. I love David Wright. So
Not me
much, and I
bumping David Wright again. That was not my intention. He was on my
Hey.
list.
I love David Wright. He's one of my
Strike
favorite
2,
players of all time.
Lasher.
Mm-hmm.
He's on my
But
list.
I think this is fine. I think
Okay.
it's defining.
Christian, Ty, Wendell, Zeke, Rick Devins. Everybody's bringing a little something different now. Okay. All right.
The women.
All right.
There's
The
a
women.
couple of, I
Wright
think,
got kicked
really
out of this
clear.
era.
I will suggest Chrissy Hoffbeck.
Chrissy. Okay.
I think for me,
Michelle.
Aubrey and Michelle. Like
Ooh.
both for me, like that duality defines. Obviously, this includes 40 as well for Michelle.
And also,
Aubrey's gonna play 3 times in
Yeah.
a very short amount of time, and Angelina. Those are the top 3 for me.
So then that would be 4.
Okay.
Hannah, Angelina would be the other 2 I had in mind.
I have Angelina. Angelina is lock it up. Okay.
I feel good about Chrissy too because I think she represents something that's not really here. The chat is saying Sydney. Do we do that? Do we do the whole kind of co-wrong endgame with Ty?
Bring back
Sydney,
the entire
Michelle, and
final
Aubrey?
4
Yeah.
of co-wrong. I love that final 4. I mean, I would say maybe it's recency bias, Rob. And look, I don't know how much of season 39 we would want to bring into this discussion, but what about somebody like Janet, maybe? Or
I think Janet or Lauren, I think, or Elaine, I think, who gets forgotten. I think that they're worthy for conversation.
Are we sleeping on Laurel?
Or
Yes.
Michaela.
Probably.
Have to
Why?
be Michaela. Surely
There's got to be a
Michaela.
little fun here, like a little like who knows how they're gonna play on their second
Mhm.
time.
could we do a wild? I mean, if we want to go a wild card, I'd put Reem on over maybe someone like Laurel.
Maybe someone like this. Okay, listen to this
Dude.
as a group. Listen to this as a group. Angelina, Michelle, Aubrey, Michaela, and Reem. Think about
Angelina,
How
Angelina,
comprehensive that
Aubrey,
Michelle.
Michelle.
That's a lock.
Okay, that's-
Michaela
I-
and Reem.
I think I'm going to say Aubrey and Michelle. We're going to move them into locks. Okay, Angelina, Aubrey, Michelle. They have 3 locks. Okay.
And Michaela, surely.
Yeah,
Well,
I think
the-
Michaela.
Well, I think the thing about Michaela is like I think her challenge career has brought her back into the conversation
Yeah.
more so than her survivor career.
Well, she plays back to back. We don't have enough millennials versus Gen X representation because we couldn't put them all in. She comes back. She's in Game Changers. I feel like she's high on Family Feud, and she'd be good to see again.
Is she
Like
on
Michaela, I
Family
think
Feud?
yeah, I think so. For that era, I think so. I think we forget Michaela was a massive character.
Mhm.
Okay. Brian, what are you thinking here? I got Angelina, Aubrey, Michelle. Who are the last
Angelina,
2?
Aubrey, Michelle. I think Michaela should be on there.
Okay.
Yes,
As a
Brian. See, this is
See,
why we're
look,
best
we,
friends.
we agree, Shannon. Look at us.
Yeah,
Who would have thought?
we just become best friends.
Okay. I'm open to that. And then who's the 5th? Was it Chrissy? Was that?
Yeah, I think Chrissy. Yeah, if Chrissy's not in, I think Chrissy.
All right. Angelina, Aubrey, Michelle, Michaela, Chrissy. How does that sound?
Yeah, I like that we did it.
Ready to go to
See,
war.
Sam, we can get it. through
Wait,
things
sorry.
quickly.
So who got say that one more time?
Angelina,
Right.
Aubrey, Michelle. And then 4 and 5 are Michaela and Chrissy.
Who's not on your from the list? Shannon, you said was Chrissy on there.
Reem.
Reem.
Yeah, but I'm happy to
Dude.
have Chrissy over
Here's
Reem.
the one thing I'll say. Like, we don't have Debbie. We have Philip and Coach. We don't have any of the like kooky women, like, and don't kooky women matter?
I mean,
We'll,
Debbie
we'll
would
get,
be.
we'll get Carolyn. We'll have
I would say
Carolyn
if,
coming
if we didn't have as many people from Co-Wrong, I would say Debbie could be fun. To
Yeah,
put
we have a
on there.
lot of co-wrong representation.
But so
We
I'm
didn't put
so I'm
Peaceful Cowboy.
endorsing. I just want
Yeah.
to put it on the record. I endorse Shannon's list as it was with Reem.
Yeah.
But
Angelina
okay, Chrissy.
brings a little kooky.
Oh yeah, she brings a lot of kooky. She's baking cookies.
Yeah. Okay.
That's I don't co-sign this.
Did we end up with
support Shannon's
Abby
list.
too? I don't even remember.
It was Abby. Abby.
yes.
Abby
we have
and
that
Sarah.
Yes.
right. There you go.
So we got Kooky. We got
We
Kooky.
don't even remember what the list is.
Yeah. I've got it. Okay. And then Chrissy. All right. So the new era. Here we are.
Yes.
But-
Here we go.
15 minutes away from Big Brother, Mike.
Oh, I got it.
Let's
Take
go,
it
brother.
away.
I will do the impossible here, and I'll come up with a curated list. So I'm going to start with the 5 women here.
Okay.
I've got Shan, Marianne, Dee, Carolyn, Venus.
Ooh.
Okay.
I think you have the first big strategist of the new era in Shan. You have arguably one of the most talked about winners of the era in Marianne.
Gotta do it.
Carolyn, incredibly popular player. Dee, one of the most dominant players of the new era. And then you have someone like Venus, who I think was very much kind of defining that wild aspects of 46.
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
you have a really obvious snub that you need to rectify.
Financial analyst Emily Flippin.
Yeah.
Now,
Well,
she
Ooh,
said
though,
she
because
does
that's a
not want
very
to
strong
play
She does. She
in
does.
But this is
it's a
also
fact. We would've done
very
We haven't
like,
considered that at all.
that has not been a part of our rubric.
Venus would be
We've
the one
said
that
you
would
have to be
go.
alive.
Yeah, it would have to be then Emily over Venus.
Yeah,
I think you could have
that's a
Emily
great
over
list of
D,
5.
but I would have Emily over Venus.
All right, I'm good. Then let's put Emily over Venus then.
Okay.
Wait, is anyone we're missing? Can I go to my big book of Survivor players?
No, you can't.
I guess like
You're not
Liz
allowed.
and Maria, but I put everyone Mike has over.
I think
them,
like
which is who else was on
Maria,
my list.
Franny. I think Erica could be like all these other. Cassidy could be some of these other people, but I think those 5 are kind of.
You did very well, Mike. Good for
Mhm.
you.
He's only working from 5 seasons or 6 seasons.
Exactly.
Yeah, it
that's
was pretty
why. That's
easy.
why I took the last era.
Okay.
So then from the guys are a little bit different.
Ooh, did we
So,
forget Aisha? We forgot Aisha. Should we put Aisha there?
she
But
can
to be fair, we didn't put 47 in
Well,
the era.
in fairness, yeah, we said it was the 41 to 46.
Asia can host. All right. So the men are a little bit more interesting. So I know the
Asia
locks.
won so dominantly that they're actually not going to let her play again.
Yeah, exactly. For
It's
me,
not fair.
the 3 locks I have for men are Omer, Jesse, and Q.
Oh, interesting.
And I think
Ricard.
Ricard is definitely a name I could throw in there.
I think
Zelensky?
Jonathan and Gabler are in the conversation.
Jonathan is definitely a name to put in there. Gabler is
me.
interesting. Jam Jam is another name that we could throw in there.
It said
Ricard,
Zelensky.
Omer, Jesse, Q, and Jam Jam is where my heart is taking me.
Q, Omer, Jesse,
Q, Omer, Jesse, Ricard, Jam Jam.
Ricard, and Jam Jam. I mean, yeah, getting the Ricard and Shan dynamic back together is fun.
Mm-hmm.
And something
Is
they definitely
Q
do
too
in the
much of
future.
like the Coach Phillip dynamic? If they have another,
We have to have
Did
Q.
Ali
Yeah,
just
gotta-
did Ali
Q's a
just
lock.
not say that we
Come
need
on.
kooky characters or
No,
cutesy characters?
I said
You
women,
said
but
cookie women. Yeah.
here's the thing about Q. I think what's great about Q as the modern era version of that is like he doesn't know he's that. Like it's like,
Yeah.
it's a strategy. It's someone who thinks they can teach people how to play the game. I guess they were that too.
Can I
But
mention Caleb also?
Caleb, I think Caleb could be in another tier because, like, unfortunately for Caleb, we're speaking about people that like made it nearer to the end of the game. Caleb, unfortunately, finishing as first juror. I see it. Are we missing a beat here with all the complaints about how the new era is too full of nerdy men? Are we missing the boat by not bringing on one of like Carson, Drew, or Charlie on?
oh, I thought you were gonna say Jonathan because you've picked
Because we have too many
nerdy
nerds.
men. You've picked like
Yeah.
I don't think
they're-
that's missing.
I do think as well, like those are names that would be in the conversation, as would like an Owen. And I
Mhm.
do think that they're worth discussing, but I don't think that they get to the point of the Ricard, Omer, Jesse, Q, and Jam Jam for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have Q, but I do worry about this tribe in terms of the physical challenges. I feel like they would not do too well. But
We're sleeping on and I don't know, is he canceled offline or something? I don't pay
Who?
attention. But Jonathan was one of the like most unbelievable physical
Yeah, no, I think
specimens of the new era.
Jonathan is a pretty
canceled?
good one. No.
No.
I think
fine.
I think we need to find room. I actually don't know of the people we're talking about who you get rid of, but I do think for like the tribe dynamic, we have to put someone like Jonathan. There's no one like Jonathan, even in like the whole
Yeah.
back half of Survivor.
Mhm.
Yeah, I do think that's an interesting point. Yeah, I think for me it would be like one of Jonathan, like Jonathan, Jam Jam, Ricard would probably be the 3 I'm going around. And
Okay.
also,
And if we
listen,
have
would
Shan, do
you-
we need Ricard too? Like, do we need them both?
I think you.
Oh,
I
you
think
need
you kind of
rivals.
do need Ricard.
Mike, just give
would
us your
would
locks.
You bump Omar?
my locks right now are Omer, Jesse, and Q.
Oh. Okay.
So
Never
I
mind what I
think-
said, Omar. I didn't say anything.
I think
that was a
go ahead,
ghost.
sorry. I was going where Shannon was going. If you want Ricard, like I think it's like Ricard or Omer maybe, but
Yeah, Ricard and Omer
Jesse,
are very
you know.
similar. And Jesse, like that's
Mhm.
3. I feel like you
Ricard
can't. I
and
don't think
Omer
you
are
should have
not
all
very
3.
similar. Do you
Both
need a
on
new
the
era,
Jizzy.
bro?
Well, we
Compared
have
to
Carolyn, so
Jonathan.
do we need Jam Jam?
That's my question.
I
yeah.
think Jam Jam is representative of the era. I think that if you're like, I think he's one of the, was he not one of the faces on the Mount Rushmore of the new era? How is he not on the tribe of 10 people?
so who are you cutting, Rob?
I think for me, I think that maybe I go Jesse, like, I don't know who I'm cutting, but I think I might give you. Okay, I'll tell you my 5. Okay, Jesse, Q, Jonathan, Jam, Omer.
I
cutting
would,
Ricard.
I would agree with
I'm
that.
good with that.
Wait, who did you cut from my 5? Ricard?
Ricard, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Jaden went wide-eyed for about 5 seconds. That said, "Oh yeah, actually, at the end of the day, it's okay."
Nah, whatever.
I
I mean,
mean,
none of
listen,
this
I
matters
will
anyway.
throw a last-minute curveball. I know we're talking about gender parity, but Evie is someone that should be mentioned at least. But
I
I
think
think
if
that
you're taking anyone from 41, it's Shannon Ricard. Like, I love Evie. If I was casting my fan cast, I say Evie, but in terms of defining the era, I would do Shannon Ricard, and we can't even fit both. So,
okay.
I agree, Shannon.
All right, so we have Omer, Jesse, Q, Jam, Jonathan, and then Shan, Marianne, Carolyn, Emily, and D.
Okay. All right. Are you ready to hear the list
clean.
of 50? Okay.
yeah.
Here we go. First 10. Richard Hatch, Boston Rob, Rupert, Johnny Fairplay, and Rob Cesternino.
That's
Then-
the
There's
last.
so
And
much
no Colby.
anticipation.
We have Sandra, Sue Hawk, Jerry Manthe, Vesepia, and Jenna Maraska. That's our 1 through 8.
There we go.
9 through 20, we have James, Russell, Coach, Tyson, Ozzy, with Stephanie, Parvati, Amanda, Suri, Sugar. Okay? 21 through 31 is Tony, Jeremy, Cochran, Malcolm Phillip, Natalie Anderson, Kim Spradlin, Sierra, Wentworth, and Abby. Okay? 32 through 40 is Christian, Ty, Wendell, Zeke, Rick Evans, with Angelina, Chrissy, Aubrey, Michelle, and Michaela. And then 41 through 46 is Omer, Jesse, Q, Jonathan, Jam, with Shan, Marianne, D, Carolyn, and Emily.
Okay.
Can I say something you're going to hate?
No, of course.
So going back to what I said about like the numbers might not be right, but the vibes will be there. When you were reading the cast, and let me know if you
vibes
disagree.
were bad?
I think that if we're going to talk about what we think of Survivor in the first 8 seasons, it was like mostly, not as strategic, good people, blah, blah, blah. And per snaps, Johnny Fairplay is not as exemplary of that first 8 seasons as a Colby. It does feel like Colby's absence, without you saying not Colby, is felt heavily there. That does feel like a gap that if I were to like see a picture, a cast photo on the beach of you guys, it would be like, like in the way that Russell speaks for that era, does Johnny Fairplay, despite having one of the most iconic, memorable like moments of that era, I don't like, does he speak for the first 8 seasons of Survivor more than Colby?
I mean,
Probably
Colby not taking Tina to the end is a pretty big deal too.
They
Yeah.
both speak for the era. We just can't fit them.
But I'm saying if
Rob
I'm
wants
the
to give up his spot. If he wants to put
I'm
his
just
hand
saying,
up,
I think if Rob wants to quit, I am fine
Do you
giving
wanna
up his
quit, Rob?
spot.
Whoa. I would give up my spot, but I'm not quitting. I am not
I'm
a quitter.
suggesting-
He's quitting for strategy.
Ali would
like
say
you
it's
did.
weak sauce.
Well, I thought I
it's
put
true. We don't have Colby or
Fairplay-
Tina.
So I thought I put Fairplay through against your guys' wishes. So I was trying to rectify that in like looking back at the whole picture. If that's not the case, that's not the case.
It does feel wrong not to have Colby, but I don't know what we do about it.
Colby can host a la Top
I think
Shot.
let's start all over and reevaluate what we mean by each era.
Great idea. We got
Why
2
was
more
so
hours.
hard?
Yeah.
This is an incredible experiment. I love it. And,
Mhm.
Anticipating
and
an
true-
age-related medevac will put 6 men.
So I
On
think
the-
we have the 11 men, the 11 people from the first era, 6 men. They show up, they compete,
oh,
and the loser
Yeah, good
goes
luck,
home.
Rob.
And it's
Mhm.
Yeah.
eliminated.
I mean, I will also say,
Well, Colby was Superman in a fat suit 20 years ago,
I
Shannon.
think Rob could beat Rupert in a foot race.
I will-
Yeah,
I
have you
will
seen
also
some of these
say-
guys? Come on.
I
Okay,
know
great.
that
I'm glad you
I'm
love
still
it.
going back and forth between like Courtney or Sugar for that spot on Era 2. I
Yeah,
do
no,
think
people in the chat one.
Listen,
but bring
you
it-
lie. Let me just say this right now. line me up for a 40-yard dash with Richard Hatch,
Talking about
Colby,
it.
Boston Rob. Who else is here?
Rob, I
Frickin'
honestly think
Rupert. I'm
Maybe
winning.
we do that on Summer of Survivor.
winning.
you are the muscle. You either, die the weakest player or live long enough to become the muscle. Like I think you're the muscle on the tribe. You're the Jonathan. But all
I'm
right,
virile.
Well, okay, we're not gonna get into that territory. Don't want to get bogged. But I do think Courtney and Sugar. Yeah, I'm back and forth between them. The only one of the reasons I didn't suggest Courtney is because we already had 2 China.
Wait, hold on. What did we do
representatives,
for the first
yeah,
10?
we've moved on.
We're
I guess.
having 6 of you show up.
No, you
doing the
can't have
foot
6.
race.
You can't have 6.
Look, I'm open to changing fair play for Colby, but
I think
thought
Colby
I
should
forced
be in
the
over
hand.
me and Johnny Fairplay, for the record.
I kind of agree, but I can't say it.
You can say it.
Colby in the first.
I-
The Colby
I haven't-
Donaldson.
I agree.
I don't have an
I
ego
opened
about
this issue. I opened the issue. I do think Colby, in hearing the list back, does have to be there for 1 through 10.
So
We
let's
have to have
let's kick
Colby.
Rob out. Let's keep Rob's gone. Fair play's in.
I don't endorse that, but fine.
You kicking
Okay.
this Rob out?
That's fine.
You
Let
just
me
said you agree.
Put me in
You
the
said
picture.
you wanted
and
to do that.
I'm
I
like,
know, but I want to
I'll-
put it on Brian.
Yeah. I'm
Bring it on.
like looking at everybody.
Actually, in the category of
I'm
most
looking
likely
at
to host this,
everybody. Are you like the voyeur Rob in the bushes, just peeping on the like? I
he's
wish I could have-
virile. He's virile.
Yeah.
If anything,
Barrel.
Rob has been spared from having to do this. You're welcome. Like
Mhm.
that's better.
Yeah.
We called him for an interest call and he declined.
Okay. All right. So Johnny Fairplay in. I'm
Colby
gonna
in,
sit.
you're
I'm
out.
gonna sit this one out.
There'll be the
Okay?
statue of Rob. He could show up at the Trump.
Yeah,
Ooh.
that's fine.
Yeah,
let me
yeah.
do the pregame interviews. That's my dream.
Oh,
Okay.
there we go. Amazing.
Please. All right. Let's do that. And then Sugar, Courtney over Sugar is a late push.
I'm debating it because I mean the thing was I didn't want to bring on too many China people, and also like it does feel like
Who
Gabon is
cares?
not
We
represented.
have half of Taku from 42. So the whole
We have
true.
2 people from China. It would be 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, throw
I
Courtney
think
on.
sugar,
Are we
but
voting?
I
All right,
stay
all right,
with
quick.
sugar.
All right, last thing. Sugar or Courtney, Allie?
Sugar.
Brian?
Sugar.
Okay, Shannon.
Kooky
Courtney.
women.
I'm gonna say Courtney. Back to you, Mike.
God
That was
damn
fun.
it! You people.
Kooky women.
Mike, our friendship.
Is Courtney not kooky?
What about our friendship, Shannon?
What?
I'm not friends with any of you.
I'm gonna say I will go with
All Rob wanted was a few minutes before Big Brother.
He'll have a few.
Mike
just
will
gonna-
now debate this for an hour.
And
just
Ninja
gonna-
Creamy's not gonna make itself.
Rob,
I'm gonna be
switch your
really
vote.
I'm on it right now. Nah, I'll give it to Sugar here.
Mike, our friendship.
Sugar. Okay. All right. Leave it alone. Okay. All right. Sam says we can announce what we're doing next week, but could we please remind the panel what we're doing next week?
Yes, so I believe, Shannon, we are doing a sequel to a highly anticipated episode of Summer of Survivor, are we not?
Yes. Yes, we're
This
doing
one?
defining moments.
Yes, we're
arguing
doing
again.
We are
about
doing the second part.
how-
If you haven't gotten enough arguing about Survivor,
Defining
just wait until
things.
next week when we are going to be going to the bingo balls and we are going to be picking the defining moments of the aim is to cover all the seasons that we didn't do this last time out. Which is what-
Shannon won out, and so
It wasn't
that
me.
we will.
People messaged me. So many
Mhm.
people. The chat were like, please finish all of the moments. I can't even tell you how
Okay,
many messages
the
I got.
most iconic moments of each season, part 2,
Part
all the
2.
ones we didn't get to the first
10
time.
years.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Allie and Brian are getting ready to bring you coverage of the real Battle of the Eras, the Challenge Season 40. Preview podcasts are dropping now at RHAP.com/challenge feed. When is the actual kickoff to the season?
The premiere
August?
is August 14th. Yes.
August 14th. Okay, so just a couple of weeks away. Allie, what other podcasting are you doing these days?
Well, first of all, thanks for ruining my night doing this. No, this was
Jesus.
fun. I enjoyed being here. I enjoyed playing in the deep end with the real Survivor fans. So thank you for that. You can catch New Girl Old Guy, where Akiva and I talk about New Girl, entering its 100th year, 6th season of New Girl. But Akiva is hard at work toiling away, so he doesn't have time. So that's on Yadis, but you could check it out. Anchor.fm/New Girl Old Guy. Check out the challenge, as we already plugged. And join us in the challenge RHAP Up Facebook group. We're having a lot of fun over there. Bustling, thriving. Join us. It's a really good time. We'll let you in.
All right. Great job tonight, Ali and Brian, for you.
Everything that Ali said. Join the Facebook group. Follow me on Twitter, TikTok, Challenge Wrap-Ups, TikTok. Check out that.
Okay.
Cohen
All
Brian
right.
_. Didn't say it.
On Twitter.
Okay. Great job
bad
tonight.
boy of Twitter.
The bad boy of Twitter. Yep. The Survivor Gabon of Survivor tweeters, as they say. Okay.
That's what they say.
All right. Then, Shannon, what's coming up for you besides the more bingo balls?
Bingo balls, Traders New Zealand, not Survivor New Zealand, which I did that in my post yesterday. Yeah, that's it for me. Follow me at Shannon Gates. That's all I got.
All right. And then, Mike, what's coming up for you?
Well, the first thing I want to plug is Summer of Survivor, because breaking news are happening now. We're doing a bit of a time change. As was mentioned at the beginning of this podcast, Big Brother is rolling back an hour, and so are we. So we are going to be going right now at 6 p.m. Eastern, moving forward, 3 p.m. Pacific. Insert whatever time for your time zone there. So keep your clocks tuned for those of you that are going to be joining us live, and I hope you do. Listen, it was a very spirited debate, and I'm sure we've all gotten on people's shit lists at certain points over the course of this podcast, but that's the spirit of the podcast, and we'll be doing it all again next week. As for what I'm doing, so what Brian misconstrued this podcast as, I actually got to do on the Free Agents podcast, which was drafting people from Survivor to be on a future season of the challenge. So that was a very fun time, just living in my island lifestyle as I have been doing on the Survivor 50 wish list. Talked Survivor Triple H with Lindsay Wilson today, and tomorrow we got Ghost Island with the baby boy, Bryce Isaiah. Covering Big Brother over on parade.com. First exit interview coming up this week for the Evicted House Guests, and TV for Real with Sasha Joseph. But you can keep up with everything I'm doing at a Mike Bloom Type.
Just a couple other Survivor podcasts to let you know about. Talking with T-Bird this week. We talked with Janet Carbon from season 39. Had a fun chat with Janet. And then Kellen Bechtold is back this summer with Road to Reality. And her newest episode is with the great Jatia Hart. So check out Kellen's very an emotional interview with Jatia. So check that one out. Thank you so much for listening. We'd love to hear what you have to say in the comments. Have a good one. Bye.